Boelter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf from
Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. Another Wednesday roundtable to talk about everything Seahawks and NFL. And I'm excited because we've got a great panel today to jump right into it. And as I've got in my title up above here, are the Seahawks ready to win? This is, we're almost to that point. We're a week and a half away from the first game of the regular season. And it's pretty much our team is going to be what it is. For everything that's happened to this point, we're pretty much to that point now. It's like, well, how good are the Seattle Seahawks? And we're going to get into that and help try to answer that question right here. So, but before we get into that, first I want to remind everybody, please, if you don't mind, hit that like button here. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell. It's a huge help to getting YouTube traction and helping me out big time with this YouTube thing. And so, without further ado, I want to introduce today's roundtable right here. Starting to my left, I've got on my left right here, this is Seahawks Martin. Martin, what's up? How you doing, man?
Doing great.
All right. And to the far right, or you're right, on the bottom is Noah, the Boelter, all the way from Wazoo. What's happening, Noah?
How we doing, folks? Great to be here.
All right, and of course, to the top right, we've got Calvin Domingo at Steve Smith. What's up, Calvin?
My brothers, how's everyone doing?
Doing great. And want to save the best for last right here. Special new guest on the show, but a friend of mine I've known for a long time, so it's my honor and pleasure to have him on my show since he's had me on his back in the day. I want to introduce you, everybody, Brian Abker. Brian, welcome to the NorbCam Roundtable, man. How's it going?
Hey, it's going great. I appreciate you guys having me on. Martin, Noah, Calvin, thanks for letting me in on your little huddle here. The thing that people don't know about Martin is he's actually like 38 years old, so very youthful looking guy over there. But no, I'm glad to come on board and talk some football with you guys. I mean, I spent 15 years in Seattle in sports radio, 10 of those with KJR. Got to cover the Seahawks training camps and practices and games for the better part of a decade. I've been a Seahawk fan since they incepted in '76. So this is a thrill. And Norb, I always love working with you, brother.
Oh man, the pleasure's all mine. And yes, I miss those days when you were over at KJR, because for me, some of my best moments as a fan, and when I started all this stuff on YouTube, you were right there doing all the Seahawks stuff, and you were the first one to invite me to be a guest at KJR in the studio. I think that was around the time when the Seahawks had just won the Super Bowl. I think the first time we met, me and Mark Collins came in, and you saw me with my green hair and all that stuff, and that was the start of many collaborations after that. So it is my pleasure, and the fact that I can have you on my show, I think it's really cool. But I'm looking forward to hearing all of your takes on football. It's been a while since we've talked shop about the Hawks. So I can't wait to hear your input on all these things. So let's get into it, guys. That's what everybody's here for, is to talk a little Seahawks. There's been so much in this very bizarre year. We've had so many things going on between no fans in the stands and all this COVID stuff, players leaving, players coming in, questionable players who there's Davion Clowney. We've been talking about him and still continue to talk about him. So many questions, but the big question really is how good will the Seahawks be? How do we break this down? I guess we just have to start with maybe take it a little piece at a time. I want to start with a component of the defense, which I had probably arguably has been the most questionable as to how they addressed it. When I mentioned Clowney, the pass rush has been one of those things that everybody's been saying, when's Seattle going to get a pass rush? They're terrible. That pass rush was horrible last year. And Brian, off air, you had told me that you thought that this is one area we don't need to worry about. So I'm going to start with you. Give me your take. Why did you say that? What is it about the Seattle's defensive line and pass rush that you feel, strangely, compared to most popular opinion, seem to be pretty confident in? Give me your take on that.
Yeah, everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I am a firm believer and extremely confident that this defensive line, both in the pass rush sector and in the run stopping sector, are going to be much better than they were last year. And they don't even have to be much better for this team to be a legitimate Super Bowl run type of team. They just need to be a little bit better, because remember, they were about 6 inches away from going to the NFC West championship game. I mean, so it's a real fine line. And yes, we lost Jadeveon Clowney. He's gone. There's still a chance he could come back, but that's a relatively thin chance. Here's what they have. They've got some very good young talent. They've also added some older talent. Bruce Ervin and Benson Mayowa. Do not overlook these guys and their ability. Bruce Irvin's still one of the most athletic guys on the team. He brings in 8 sacks in from last year. He's going to be coming off the edge, and that's exactly what they need, is that pressure from the edge. People look at the sack numbers from last year. They weren't very good. They don't need sacks. They need pressures. They need to put pressure on that quarterback. Why? Because their backfield, their defensive backfield is incredible. It's going to be one of the best in the NFL. You add a guy like Jamal Adams, that automatically helps your pass rush in a different way because he's able to not only cover guys, he's a ball hawk, but he's also going to be seen up in the linebacker spot, putting some pressure on the quarterback as well. You watched what they did with Shaquem Griffin last year in that little experiment and rushing him off the edge because of his incredible speed, and they had some success with it. They're going to dive into that more. They ran a base defense, the Seahawks did last year, because they had no confidence in their nickel. They couldn't go to the nickel package. They had to run the base. This year, you're going to see them blitz more. You're going to see them run the nickel package. They've got a new corner out there in Dunbar that is going to be lights out. So grateful that he was able to come through the other side of that incident in Florida, and we still aren't all sure what happened, but according to the courts down there, he's good. So if he's good there and he's good with Pete, he's good with me, and I'm happy that he's on the team. So just between those two additions in the backfield, that's automatically going to help your pass rush. Then you've got these young guys. You've got Rasheen Green, who saw 500 snaps when he was like 19 or 20 years old with the Seahawks. He's still very young. This will be his breakout year. He's going to add to the depth on that D-line. You've got L.J. Collier, who looked like he was, in most people's eyes, a bust as a first-round draft pick. And guess what? He kind of was, but he had injuries. He never got to go to camp last year. That's a big deal for a rookie. So he came in last season, late in that last season, got some snaps. He wasn't able to show everything, but he showed some flashes. You watch L.J. Collier this year, he's going to be a factor on that defense. You've got the rookies. You've got Darrell Taylor. He's going to be your next superstar edge guy, in my opinion. I know that's an early to see much at camp. We haven't seen any preseason games, but this guy is phenomenal. His speed is legit, and he's got a high football IQ. You add to that factor, I think you take a look at, you've got 2 big run stoppers in the middle. You've got Jaron Reed, right? He was suspended 6 games last year. He never got on track. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. He's going to add to not only that pass rush, but to that run stopping. And there's one other name that I'm forgetting that I'm losing in the watch here. But I think that the personnel is there, whether they're able to add Clowney or whoever's left hanging from the meat hanger here on free agency. I think they've got a good enough defense and a good enough pass rush to be successful because they've got a good enough defensive backfield, and that offense is going to be fire.
I like that. I like that optimism, man. Darrell Taylor, I know, has been battling injuries, and we don't know when he's going to be available to play. He's still coming off of that off-season surgery, that titanium rod they put into his leg early in the year. So, question about him. But you bring up a lot. I think it will be interesting to see with the Bruce Ervin, Benson Mayowa. Those are 2 names that I think when we picked them up, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, we kind of heard about that.
For you and for most people, but
right.
Not for the people that. Listen, I know what Bruce Irvin's made of. I'm telling you, just out there, people, trust me. Bruce Irvin's going to be everything that you want him to be this year.
I love it, man. And their numbers, if you look at the numbers, they both are trending in a really good spot. Hey, I want to get the other opinions from the other guys here as well, see if they have any contradictory opinions there. But Brian, before I do that, I want to ask you, you ended up here because you reached out to me after we hadn't talked in a while, and you said, hey, man, really like that panel that you guys have been doing. And I'm just curious, how is it that you came to follow what we've been doing here? And I know we've been friends for a long time, and you know about my what I've been doing on video. But I was just kind of curious, what was it that kind of sparked your interest here that eventually brought you to be part of this panel right here, man?
Yeah, well, first of all, I like the group. It's a kind of an eclectic group, younger guys, hungry, trying to get into broadcasting, doing a great job, following somebody like you that's really been a self-made dude that's great at promotion, great at entertainment. You've got so many talents it makes me sick, dude. It's just not fair that one guy can be as talented as you are, honestly. Singing, dancing, creatively, filmmaking, all that stuff. So I follow all the stuff you do, and I just thought this was a fun atmosphere.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And you add some already some great insight here. And the other talent I have is that between takes, I can eat some cup noodles because I haven't had lunch today. So if you hear some slurping in the background, truth be told, I might be grabbing a bite here and there. So let's go around the horn here to the other members. Now, I got to mention, too, Brian Abker, you went to Wazoo. You're a Coug. I had to say you're a Coug. And, of course, Noah just started.
That's
he's still, getting used to his new digs over there at Wazoo. So we got two Wazoo guys, a current Wazoo guy and a guy from, I won't say how long ago you graduated from Wazoo, but it's been a while. But,
I appreciate that.
But one thing we do know is Wazoo's got, without denial, they got a very good journalism program over there. So speaking of Wazoo, let's go to our current day Noah Boelter Wazoo connection. Noah, give me your take here as we're entering the week one of the NFL season. What's your take on the Seattle defensive line, man?
I really like what Brian had to say. He said he forgot one name. Might I bring up Alton Robinson as a guy who I've heard some great things out of camp about his possibilities on the field as well. I think LJ Collier, he has no expectations heading into this year. So I think that's a good place for him to be at. He has an opportunity at training camp this year. He's going to have an opportunity to go in, and he has a huge chip on his shoulder as well. What we did do very well this offseason, and we'll talk about the secondary, I'm sure, at some point. But like I've said before, in just 11 games last year, Quentin Dunbar would have led our defense in interceptions with 4. So we're bringing in a guy that would have led our team in turnovers. As well, we brought in a guy in Jamal Adams or Bruce Ervin that would have led our team in sacks, and Benson Mayowa. Combined, they had 22 sacks last year. Combined, Seattle as a team only had 27. So that's 5 less sacks than Seattle as a team had last year. We're bringing in via free agents and via trade. So I definitely think that our pass rush is going to improve. My biggest concern is going to be the fact that we do not have a guy that consistently is going to be the man. I think Bruce Sullivan could step in and he's going to give it his best shot, but he's not an A1 pass rusher, and those are so hard to come by. But what I do think is very beneficial to this defense, and those of us that have been keeping up with training camp know why Jamal Adams is such a good fit in Seattle, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, so I'm not going to go too crazy into it, but he is so competitive, and at training camp, he is calling guys out. He's talking trash to the offense. He wants to win every single snap, and that's great for our defensive line because it's going to be all about competition. Every single week, teams aren't going to slide to one side the way they had to with the Jadeveon Clowney. They're going to try and run their own system, so every single week, it's going to be a different guy that becomes available, and a different guy is going to have to step up. We have depth. We don't have that A1 star. So because of it, I think our defensive line improves as a whole, but it's going to be a different guy every single week.
All right. Yep. Good points there. Bringing up the Alton Robinson. That was definitely a name that Brian forgot to mention, but a name that is going to be mentioned a lot, I think. Everything I'm hearing is the same out of training camp. The offense talking about Alton Robinson, tough to stop. Let's go to little Martin, Seahawks Martin, who's secretly 38 years old, but still taking piano lessons. Future president of the United States. He's got things to do. But let's get Martin in here. Give me your take on the Seattle defensive line.
Brian and Noah pretty much touched all the points I was going to talk about. But I believe that the D-line will improve this year. Like they said, we brought in Benson Mayowa, Bruce Ervin, great additions. Bruce Ervin, he was a monster back in those days, in my opinion. And he's a very great speed rusher. He's going to use that speed against those O-linemen. Those O-linemen aren't fast enough. So, I mean, we could apply that with Shaquem Griffin too, because Shaquem Griffin has got that speed. We could convert him to a defensive end or something like that, and have him use his speed to get to the quarterback. We saw that a couple times last year. He did really well there, and I feel like our defense, with all that hate they've been getting, I think that could be their motivation to get even better next year. Noah did mention that it might just be one guy every week. But, I mean, you can't just depend on one guy. Have you ever heard of teamwork makes the dream work? They're all going to work on it as a team. They're going to be monsters this year, and I am very excited. So I really hope our D-line can improve by a lot this year. As for, the linebackers, you already know they're great. Our secondary is... like Brian said, they are amazing. You got Jamal Adams in there, a star Pro Bowl safety, already a first-time All-Pro, even though he's only in like his fourth year or something like that. That's really good. And so I believe that with the addition of him and Quentin Dunbar, who was a star for the Redskins last year, our secondary will. I don't want to say too early, but I feel like they could be the next Legion of Boom. I don't know. Hopefully.
I think a lot of us, especially when Jamal Adams came here, I think we all started having these dreams and not, I don't say delusions, but aspirations that we're seeing version 2.0. But they're going to have to come up with our new name. I don't want to start recycling old names, because then you're kind of like feel like you got to compare to the old guys. They're going to come up. We got to come up with their own new nickname, and I'm sure we will once this gang starts playing together. Calvin, not to leave you out of the conversation, let's get your thoughts here on the defense. I was talking about mostly defensive line, but Martin kind of expanded out beyond that. So. Calvin, what's your thoughts on the defensive line or defense in general?
Yes, sir. Well, you know what they say, great minds think alike, and I think Brian kind of hit on all the points. I think the fact that we're going to have such an improved secondary, that alone is going to improve our pass rush. And I also agree with Brian. We don't need necessarily a star pass rusher. So to kind of defer from Noah's opinion, we don't need a star pass rusher if our secondary is going to be that good. I've been on the record saying that I think that we're going to have the best secondary in football. We just added the best safety in football in Jamal Adams. I think that by bringing him in, by bringing in linebacker Jordan Brooks, we're adding an infusion of young talent that we so badly needed. We have a whole bunch of old guys over there, aside from Shaq Griffin and Trey Flowers, but our secondary was so bad last year. Shaq Griffin, he was a Pro Bowler, but he didn't have a single interception. Obviously, we all know how terrible Trey Flowers played. Quandre Diggs, he only played about 6-7 games for us, and in the 5 or 6 games that he played for us, he was phenomenal. I think that we're gonna have the best safety duo in football with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. I think that by bringing in depth along the defensive line and Bruce Ervin, who knows the system, Benson Mayo knows the system. We look at Jarran Reed. He had 10.5 sacks a couple of years ago. Going off of what Brian said as well earlier. He was coming off a 6-game suspension last season. He never got into any rhythm whatsoever. I think that we're probably not going to see 10.5 sacks. I think somewhere along the range of maybe 7 to 8 is a little bit more reasonable. Poona Ford's one of the best run stuff and tackles in football. Rasheen Green led our team in sacks last season, and he's only going to improve. And we finished with 28 sacks last season, second last in the NFL. There's nowhere to go but up. So even if we didn't improve the secondary the way that we did, our pass rush was bound to improve based off the guys that we drafted, based off the guys that we added for depth along the defensive line. I think that because the secondary is going to be so much better, because our linebacking core is still going to be great, those two factors alone are going to enhance the play of our defensive line. And I think that we're going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think that we're going to hopefully finish in the upper half of sacks in the NFL. And I'm very excited about the potential of our defense. I think that we're also going to finish as a defense as a whole. I think that we're going to finish in the upper half of the NFL, and look for a whole lot of great things this season. A lot of people are kind of throwing us in the dirt. They're throwing a whole lot of dirt on our names, throwing a whole lot of trash on our names, saying that we're going to be a terrible defense. I've seen a whole lot of people saying that we're going to finish 8-8, 9-7, 7-9. And just like last season, we're going to prove those people wrong, and the defense is going to be a huge reason why.
So I want to. You touched on where you think the Seattle defense is going to finish this year. I believe as an overall defense, we were, wasn't it 26, something like that? Isn't that where we finished in terms of as a total defense? How far can we jump in here? We can do a quick around the horn. Where will the defense end up at the end of this 2020 season? Brian, let's go back to you.
Probably somewhere between 15 and 20, maybe a little bit better, but they don't need to be any better than that to be successful and accomplish the main goal that they want, which is winning the division and making a Super Bowl run.
All right. How about let's go down to Martin. What's your thoughts? What will the Seahawks defense finish at this year?
I think they're going to finish pretty strong. I believe their sack rate will go up to around 30, 40, something like that. And that will just prove all those analysts wrong.
All right, so what number you got? 26 last year. Where will they be at the end of 2020? Because I'm going to hold you to this. We're going to document all this. And at the end of the year, when the season's over, we're going to go, okay, this is what Brian said, this is what Martin said. We're going to see how accurate we are. So we're putting this down for the record, just so you know.
I'm going to go 38.
No, I'm talking about how's the ranking overall of 32 teams.
Ranking. Oh my gosh.
We finished 26 last year. They were predicting. PFF was predicting to be 32.
I'm gonna go 19.
19. Okay, conservatively impressed.
I don't think anything thoroughly these days.
Well, that's okay. Winging it's all right. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
I love it. I love it.
In the end, we're all just guessing anyway. So, Noah, what's your thoughts?
So I've been on the record saying that I think Seattle finishes between 14 and 9. So, Calvin, you kind of put words in my mouth a little bit. I'm not saying that Seattle has to have an A1 superstar pass rusher in order to be successful. Clearly, I'm predicting that Seattle's defense is better than Brian and what Seahawks Martin just said. I'm saying every single week it's going to be a different guy stepping up, and that's what's great about our competitive culture, and it's going to really flourish because of the fact that we have such a competitive locker room. My numbers were between 9 and 14. 9 is our ceiling. That's the highest, the best defense that we could have this year. 14, I think, is the lowest, and because of that, I'm just going to go right smack in the middle. I'm going to say 12th is where Seattle's defense will finish this year, greatly in part because of our recent additions that accumulated 22 sacks last year.
12 is a good number. I'll go with 12. 12 is good. That would be a market improvement. Calvin, what's your thoughts? Seahawks defense finishes where after 2020?
So I think our ceiling is actually 12th, and I think that our floor, I'd say, is at least 15, 16. But if I had to really pick a number, I'm going to say 13.
Okay.
All right. So for me, I don't want to jump too far in because then if I get too high expectations, I'm going to let myself down. So my feeling is if they jump 10 spots from last year, 26 to 16, I'd be pretty happy about that. And like you said, I don't think we need to be, it's not like before where we need to be that number one defense in order to win games. I think we were, as you guys all said, we were so close last year with a 26th ranked defense, not to mention all the injuries on the offensive side, of course. So we take all that into consideration. Mark, putting up 10, if we finish 16th, I will be fine with that. Anything better is just, gravy. There's gravy on top, the whipped cream and the cherry on top. So I'll say conservatively, I expect that they got to finish at 16 to hit that goal for me. So I want to stay on the defensive side, but I want to put that focus on the guy we keep talking about, Jamal Adams. We gave up the farm to bring Jamal Adams here from the Jets. Probably the most, I can't remember the last time we gave up this much for one player. But when Seattle finishes every season in the bottom of the first round, well, we'll never get that top round talent until the day comes when the Seattle finishes 2-14 or 4-12. So it's hard to get those top rate guys. Well, here we are sitting with one. Had to give up a couple of those late first round picks, but here we are with Jamal Adams. Let's talk the impact he's really going to have. What are you expecting from this guy to really do for Seattle? How much of a game changer is he? And Brian, we'll start with you.
I mean, he's an incredible game changer. He tilts the field. There's very few safeties in the league like him or equal to him. He could arguably be the best. Some people would say he would. I'm one of those people. He's not only a guy that's a ball hawk, he's a team leader. He's great in coverage. He's the most versatile position player on a defense in the NFL. You're going to see him lined up at safety. You might see him at strong. You might see him at free. You're going to see him at linebacker on occasion. He did that a lot for the Jets. You'll see him up on the line. You'll see him rush the passer. He does everything, and the dude hits. He's a monster, and he's a significant game changer. So you say that the Seahawks gave up the farm, but we don't know what this farm cultivates or grows. When you're talking about a draft pick, you're talking about it's a crapshoot. I don't care if you're a 20-year veteran GM in the NFL or a scout or people like us. Everybody's got their opinion. Everybody does their research. But there's been so many busts in the top 20 in the NFL draft over history that the Seahawks realize this. They don't care where they get their players or what round they get their players from. They have certain guys targeted. So for them, giving up first rounders means nothing.
And I agree. You don't have to look any further than some of Seattle's first-round picks to see ones that have not worked out very well. Jermaine Ifedi was out of here. Malik McDowell never saw a uniform. Those are a couple of first-round picks that just never translated. So
I'm pretty sure Malik McDowell was second rounder.
Sorry, he was second, wasn't he? Yeah, he was second.
But
My bad. But he was the first.
Pick,
he was the first pick.
He was, yeah. But still, they haven't had great success except for when they first came on board with the Earl Thomas and what was it, Okung or so. Yeah, I don't care what they gave up. That doesn't mean, dude, Schneider will get back whatever he wants come draft day. He knows how to manipulate the system.
Yes, for sure. But this is for 2020. So we're definitely. I'm excited to see what Jamal Adams is going to bring. Let's go around the horn. Seahawks Martin. What are you excited the most about Jamal Adams?
Man, I am excited for everything he's about to do. Like Brian said, he can pretty much play it anywhere. He can blitz, he can tackle, he can make plays. He is going to be a big superstar for us this year. And hopefully he can lead the charge to us to a playoff. I believe that he's going to be a big impact in the defense improvement. I hope that he can rack up a few sacks and a few INTs too. That would be amazing to see him. And like you guys said, the first round picks, I think this was worth it. I mean, we don't even use our first round picks very good anyway. Hopefully Jordan Brooks can prove that wrong. But he is gonna scare everyone away. I'm excited to see what Jamal Adams can do. I believe he will be a big game changer, and hopefully he can be the guy that leads our defense to the playoffs, and you never know, maybe the Super Bowl.
I like it. Calvin, let's get your take. What are you most excited about seeing Jamal Adams when he takes the field for the first time?
I'm excited just to see the best safety in football play for our team. We've had a whole lot of great safeties play for us in the past, and we know what to do with these safeties. And so bringing along Jamal Adams, just continuing the tradition. I think that Brian, once again, was on point. He's a superstar on the field. He doesn't have very many weaknesses. I've been on the record saying that he does struggle in coverage, but I did some more film study, and he's actually not as bad in coverage as I originally thought. He's underrated, I think, in coverage. Obviously, as a pass rusher, he's the best pass rusher defensive back in football, not just among safeties, but cornerbacks as well. And he's very versatile. Like Brian said again, he can play linebacker, he can play on the line. He's spent so many snaps playing safety, defensive lineman, linebacker. He could play anywhere. We move him around. I think the fact that he's young, he's versatile, that means we could put him anywhere on the defense and expect him to do damage. And then going back to your point, Norb, about giving up the farm, I'm also on the record saying that I don't think we gave up a whole lot for him, especially with the current state of college football. I don't think I want any part of the 2021 NFL draft. A lot of people also look at the fact that, or a lot of people forget the fact that we also received a fourth-round pick in exchange. And so basically, although a fourth-round pick doesn't amount to a third-round pick, I think those two picks kind of negate and they kind of cancel each other out. So essentially, we traded 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams, but we haven't had a first-rounder deliver any sort of impact whatsoever in 10 years. And so I think that rather than rolling the dice on somebody who's potentially not even going to play college football this upcoming season, I think we did a very good, great job of bringing in the best safety in football at I think, a reduced cost or a reduced price. And I think that he's just going to improve our play in the secondary. He's going to improve our pass rush. He's going to run support. He's going to improve everything, really.
Well, and when I say the farm, we also haven't mentioned, Bradley Mcdougall was also part of that too. So we did give a player up who I really liked. I really liked Bradley Mcdougall, and I think initially when they said he was given up, I was a little bit disappointed because of the guys in the backfield. He was one guy I was sort of thinking, okay, he's solid. He's solid. So when he went, it was like, oh, but then it's like, wait a minute, we're talking about Jamal Adams here. So let's go to Noah now. And
right.
Let's get your take on Jamal Adams. What are you most excited about this guy?
There's a lot of stuff I'm really excited about. First of all, I definitely think we did give up a lot for Jamal Adams. And that's why I graded the Jets so well off of this trade. But it doesn't mean that Seattle lost the trade. It means Seattle is betting on ourselves. What we are saying is we think those first-round picks are going to be in the 30s, if not 32, practically second-round picks. What we're saying is when you put Jamal Adams in our system, the system flexibility that creates is going to be absolutely absolutely tremendous. You look within our division, and that's where it always starts, is with winning your division. The quarterbacks that we go up against, there's question marks about Jared Goff. There's question marks about Jimmy Garoppolo. Kyler Murray's very, very young, and he still is yet to have a winning season in Arizona. So what we bring is a guy that moves around the defense. You're not going to know. There could be plays when he's the mic, for heaven's sake. We don't know what he's going to be doing on defense. Those quarterbacks are not going to be able to tell what he's doing. It's going to allow coverages to be disguised. He's going to be blitzing on certain plays. He's going to show blitz on others. And for young quarterbacks and struggling quarterbacks, unproven quarterbacks, that is going to be one of the biggest things. That is another guy that they have to account for every single snap before the football. Because of that, it's going to have a tremendous impact within our decision. And Pete Carroll is betting on Seattle while also saving his job, as I've said in the past. I believe he's on the hot seat if we're unsuccessful in one of these upcoming seasons, defensively and within the draft. So he's getting rid of the picks. He's saying, okay, I concede. And plus COVID, Calvin, you brought up a great point talking about next year's draft and potentially even the following year, because those guys, there could be another Joe Burrow story a year after this year, but that guy missed a year in college that we never even got to see. So it'll still have doubts in the draft. Those are the 2 first-round picks we gave up. It's not the end of the world for Seattle. Calvin brought up in the past 10 years. Well, the last first-round pick that Seattle had to ever make a Pro Bowl, not just in Seattle, but in their career, was Earl Thomas. That's how long it's been. So we struggle in the first round. We are conceding that fact. We're saying we can win anyways by bringing in the best safety in the NFL.
Can I jump in here real quick, Norb? Because I have a question.
Go for it.
Yeah,
jump in.
Because I thought Noah said something interesting there. It really took me back, and I have to ask, why do you think Pete Carroll is on the hot seat?
I had a feeling that might trigger a few thoughts there. Noah, go right into it. Go on to it.
So Pete Carroll, before Russell Wilson got here, never had a winning season. And then Russell Wilson shows up on the scene. He wasn't even supposed to be our starting quarterback. We got lucky by getting Russell Wilson, who, in my opinion, was the best quarterback in the NFL last year, best player in the NFL. This is a guy that's really made this run for Seattle so powerful, so strong throughout this time. Yes, Pete Carroll had early draft success with John Schneider, but what has he done since then? Last year, we had the 27th ranked defense in the NFL, and Russell Wilson for years has been dealing with a teetered offensive line, injured running group, injured tight end group, and the defense couldn't get it done since back in the 2015-2014 era. The Legion of Boom fell apart. Pete Carroll is acknowledging the fact that he sucked at drafting in the first round, if not just early in the draft in general. And even this year, I think Jordan Brooks is going to have a tremendous impact in Seattle. I think him with Jamal Adams makes Seattle the best tackling defense in the NFL. But we could have got Jordan Brooks later. We could have traded back, as Pete Carroll loves to do, and still got that same prospect. So because of that, I think Pete Carroll understands the fact that this offense has struggled. Around Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has really been the carrying factor. We don't build our system, our scheme around Russell Wilson, and we see the pressure getting put on this system by a system like Andy Reid and that air raid with Patrick Mahomes. They built their offense around their superstar quarterback. We are yet to do so. Because of that, I think there's a pressure to modernize our offense around the quarterback, and I think he folds into that this year. I think we open it up a little bit and we let Russ cook, as we're going to discuss.
All right, and we are going to discuss that. So I know, Brian, you're going to respond to that. So let you finish your argument there, Noah. What record or what result in 2020 would create the situation where Pete Carroll's on the hot seat, in your opinion? We have to be better than what? If we're not better than this record or this finish, he's on the hot seat. You get quantify it for us.
For me, it's not necessarily a win-loss record. For me, what it's about is how are we winning and how are we losing? Is our defense completely struggling? Like, what if our defensive line whiffs? We get another 27 sacks next year. None of these guys we bring in are successful. We can't scheme anything up defensively, and offensively, we keep running the ball for the entirety of the first 3 quarters of the ball game and don't give the ball to Russell Wilson.
Yeah, so but if we win the Super Bowl with that formula, who cares, right? I mean, it's all about the wins and losses. I don't think it matters how you get there. It's if you get there, right? Am I wrong about this? Brian, you chime in here.
Well, I just want to say that, first of all, I don't think under any conditions at all is Pete Carroll ever going to be on the hot seat. If anything, he's probably seen the light of retirement down the road where he hasn't before. I don't know anything inside That's just my opinion. I think he's always had a strong push, he and Schneider, to go for it now ever since he's been here. Keep in mind, the last 3 seasons have been basically a rebuild, and this team has made the playoffs during what is considered to be a rebuild team, where you see most franchises struggle and don't even make the playoffs. It is very tough to get to the Super Bowl in the NFL, and people think they see the Patriots and what they've done over their history, and that every franchise should be able to do that. Why aren't we like the Patriots? Why aren't we making that run? That's just not how it works. They've also been implicated in multiple cheating scandals, so that could factor in too. Pete Carroll has put together the best football team in franchise history. He's got the best run, the most playoffs. He doesn't need to update his offense or let Russ cook, so to speak, to go and win a Super Bowl. He's already proven that. He needs to find the strength of his team and use that to his advantage. He did it with the Legion of Boom. He knew that defense was going to be his strength, and that's where they put their time, their effort, their money, and their coaching. They've also had several internal coaching changes under the last few years of resculpting this team. So while we could have been watching a 4-win football team for the last couple of years, they kept it competitive and went to the playoffs and still put themselves in position this season to make a Super Bowl run, which I'm more than confident if Russell Wilson stays healthy, that's what they're going to do. I understand that people want a more up-tempo offense. They see Patrick Mahomes slinging it downfield. That's not the style that's going to work here in Seattle. Pete Carroll is all about ball control. He's all about tempo, and he's all about making those halftime adjustments. That's part of the reason Russell Wilson has such success in the second half, and I'll get into that when we get to the topic. But it's not all because they don't want to let Russ do their thing. They're actually helping Russ be successful by what they run in the first half.
All right, so we definitely have a lot of stuff to talk about the offense, but I want to finish up with the Jamal Adams thing here with one point. See this shirt right here? This is one of my all-time favorite players, Cam Chancellor, not the original enforcer. That's Kenny Easley, one of my favorite players before Cam Chancellor. But yes, number 31, Cam Chancellor, man. I never thought we'd see a guy like him back in the Seahawks defense. It felt like as soon as he left, we just missed the identity, the aggressive, the hard-hitting soul of our defense. And I thought we might never see a player like that again. Well, when Jamal Adams came back here, suddenly it felt like reincarnation. We had a guy who can not only fit the shoes of Cam Chancellor, he may even be better than Cam Chancellor. I don't know if he can hit as hard as he can. Cam hit hard, and the rules have made it to the point where you probably can't make half the hits he made back then because they would all be illegal. But that said, you still want an aggressive guy who instills fear in the middle of the defense. Because for how long have we been dealing with crossing routes, guys running across, not touched, no fear of the middle, where I think that was what he did. He lurked around in there and made everybody think twice and get alligator arms for running across the middle because they knew Cam Chancellor was going to blow him up. So I feel like that's back into our defense once again. I think he plays the run fantastically, looking at the way he is on tape. But I think what I'm most excited about is one thing that Cam Chancellor didn't do. He didn't rush the passer. That was not his thing. And Seattle, as a defense, doesn't really blitz that often. Occasionally they'll blitz a corner. Very occasionally, a safety. I don't have the data to prove it. I'm just going by my mind. How many times do you remember a safety blitz?
True.
Right? It's just not very often. But this guy has shown, as you said, Noah, yourself, that he had as many sacks himself alone to be, I can't remember what your stat was, to be the sack leader on the defense, or was the total, whatever it was. Jamal Adams is doing it all himself. And I'm hoping that they will utilize that strength, as you said, Brian, utilize that which is your strength and to your advantage. So I hope that they do that. And if that's the case, we might see something which I never thought we'd ever see, something even greater than Mr. Cam Chancellor. So I'm so excited about that. All due respect to Cam Chancellor, who left too soon. So we'll see what happens there. But that's for me why I'm so excited. I can't wait to see him do all that Cam did and then some. So I'm really excited what Chancellor can do. Oh, sorry, Chancellor. What Jamal Adams will be able to do in 2020. Now, you already got this debate going about the offense. And first I got to ask, Martin, do you still got to leave it 6? Is that your pumpkin? Your
Yeah,
cart turns into pumpkin.
unfortunately, I have another piano class,
Okay,
and I
all
am
right.
not 38. That's why I'm still learning.
Okay, all right. So since you got to do that, I want you to get your opinion in first, just because I want you to get your thoughts in before you have to leave. So we're talking about now the offensive side of the ball, and let Russ cook. We had quite a bit of talks about that before. Brian's coming in here bringing a whole different mentality, contrary to what a lot of this panel was feeling. But Martin, give me your take again on what you feel like the Seattle offense needs to do in terms of that let Russ cook. Do you believe, what is it that Pete Carroll, offensive coordinator, Russell Wilson, what do we got to do differently this year, if anything, in 2020?
I don't know. I'm kind of split. Like, I did mention it before. How much I want Russ to cook and all, but then I keep thinking about our run game, which has been really well for the past couple of years. And so, like, half the time I want to see Russ, like, make big plays, but he's done that before. You know, you see him every once in a while hitting that deep ball to Lockett or Metcalf or something like that. And then at the same time, you see, like, Chris Carson, who had another 1,000-yard rushing season last year, and then you bring in Carlos Hyde, who also had a 1,000 yard rushing season last year, and then you see Rashad Penny, who unfortunately had the injury last year, but he did really well before that awful ACL injury. So I'm very split. Like, I know Russell's leading our offense, like he's practically carrying the team, and I feel like he does need more opportunities. But at the same time, you've got the run game that has been very, very consistent, very good for the past couple of years. I'm split. Like, I don't know what my decision. I don't know which side to like completely lean to. So I'm still deciding. But I think that like if you just split half and half the time, like a certain game you let Russ cook, a certain time you just pound the rock. I don't know. That could end up doing very well for our team.
So one stat, as we'll continue to go around the horn here, one thing that sparked the issue why we felt, and why I think a lot of people feel like they need to let Russ cook, is so many times the Seattle offense is behind, the Seattle team is behind at the half, right? We're down 1, we're down 7, we're down 5. How often are we actually ahead? Where if we had that, I think the stat about if we're ahead by 10 points at the half, we're like 60-2 or 60-0. I don't know. It was some crazy number where clearly is undefeated. And since, I don't know, what 2012 or something like that. So clearly there's based on that stat and that metric, if we could get a jump early and not save it for the end, we could be winning most of these games, just because by the time we have a lead in the first half, we don't have to have Russ have a game-saving drive, game-winning drive at the fourth quarter, because we'll have already run away with the game and the game could be out of hand by the fourth quarter. So I think that's a lot about the argument about why not let Russ cook, maybe not let him cook earlier, maybe, is what we're kind of leaning towards here in terms of that. But so let me throw it back to Brian here. So I know you're itching to say something, Brian. So defend that. Why do you think we should not change our identity when there's a lot of factors that say maybe we should?
Well, I get it. I understand why people might think that. Certainly, I know that Russell Wilson would like to be able to get out to quicker starts. I don't think that the Seahawks are against quicker starts. I don't think that's a problem. But I think when you're talking about let Russ cook, you have to define, what does that mean? Does that mean you want to see Russ throw 50 to 55 times a game? Does that mean you want to see 7 to 10 deep balls per game? What does Russ cook mean? You have to define that. Now, in my opinion, I don't mind letting Russ cook if that means making some different play calls on 2nd and long instead of trying to run the ball, or 3rd and short instead of handing it off. Let Russ throw some deep balls. I think timing and play calling is what I would focus on when I think of the term let Russ cook. The reason that he is so successful, not the only reason, but a big reason he's so successful, in the second half is because the Seahawks do a great job of making adjustments and scheming and play calling in the second half. What they've done in the first half is they've let Russ set things up. They've let the run game set things up. They've run plays to set up what they're going to do in the second half. Now, sometimes those end up becoming nail biters where Russ has to do that last minute drive. And I think as a viewer and a fan, that's all thrilling and our heart's pumping and we love that. But then the other side of us says, hey, I would love to see a beat down on occasion. We'd like to see a game where we can really breathe and relax as fans. But I think what you have to continue to do is stick with what worked, what took you to 2 Super Bowls. Ball control, running the ball, and then supplementing it with your wide receiver core. Now, I will say this. They have been lacking speed, like significant speed, for a while. They have it this year. So if there's any season that you're going to see Russ cook and take advantage of the speed and look a little bit more like Patrick Mahomes, this is a year to do it because now they've got the personnel in place. And I think that you will see an increase in Russ's activity in the first half, but I don't think it's going to be what people imagine what Russ cooking is supposed to be like.
Well explained. And like you said, we've had this winning formula that, it's hard to complain when you've been in the playoffs practically every season but one, which is an entirely, could come down to saying that the kicker was the reason we didn't make it in 2017. So obviously something's been working. The question is it working because the coaching and the system has allowed it to work, or is it Russell Wilson doing things in spite of that system? That can be debated as well. But let's go to Calvin. You've been quiet up there for a while. Calvin, let's get your take on the let Russ cook. And before you jump in, let me just throw a few numbers at you. Here's a quick fly through 2019, the attempts he had per game. If we are going to talk about passing attempts, 14 of 20 in game 1, 29 of 35 in game 2, 32 of 50 against the New Orleans, 22 of 28, 17 of 23, 23 of 33, 20 out of 41, 14 out of 20, 29 of 43, 24 of 34, 13 out of 25, 21 of 31, 22 of 36, 20 of 26, 16 of 31, and 25 of 40. So he's only had one game where he had 50 attempts in one game. But clearly most of those attempts usually still stay about that sweet spot, about the high 20s, maybe the low 30s. But with those numbers in mind, Calvin, what's your take about letting Russ cook?
So the way that I define letting Russ cook isn't necessarily to mean that we're going to get away from running the football, because obviously if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm not saying that we're not without flaws. I think that we just need to add a few tweaks. I think that we should modernize the offense a little bit. You look at the NBA, they've recently become a three-point shooting team, right, in the last 5 to 10 years. And there are a lot of teams that shoot the three nowadays. And you see that those teams are successful. And some of the other teams that don't shoot the three kind of get caught and left in the dust. And so I think that if we aren't going to modernize the offense just a little bit, I think that we should go a little bit more up-tempo. We should have a little bit more RPOs, maybe incorporate some more exotic packages on offense rather than being so basic and vanilla with our schemes. I think that they'll help a long way in helping us become a little bit more successful on the offensive side of the football. I think that we should take advantage of our personnel. I think that we're going to have the best tight end group in football, as Noah's alluded to before in the past. Greg Olsen, Will Dissly, Jacob Hollister, Luke Wilson, the list goes on. DK, he's going to have a career year in his second year. I think he's going to take a massive leap. He's the next Megatron. Tyler Lockett's going to be the player that he's always been. We just signed Paul Richardson, another deep threat to complement the deep threat that we just signed, former first-round pick, and Philip Dorsett. I think that because we have that personnel, we should try to pass the football a little bit more. I think that the ratio has been, 51 to 49 in terms of pass. We've been running the football so much. I think that I'd like to see that number go down just a little bit, maybe more of a 45, 55, something like that. And I think that we shouldn't stray from the run. I just think that we should add a few more tweaks to our offense. I think that's what letting Russ cook means. And I think that at the end of the games, if the game is close, obviously, let him air it out. You've seen this before in up-tempo situations. Russ, he knows what he's doing in those situations. Obviously, he has the most game-winning drives. Or if he doesn't have the most, he's up there. And I think that's what it means. Basically, just stray away from the running game just a little bit, add a few tweaks, take advantage of the personnel that we have, and then at the end of the game, if the game's close, then let Russ do his thing, and we'll see a whole lot more magic.
All right, so Seahawks Martin, do you have to go?
Yeah, I mean, my piano starts in like 3 or maybe a little more minutes, but I don't want to like just rush there. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Norb.
You bet. So Seahawks Martin, since you got to go, everybody go check out his channel, his description. The YouTube is in the description. Check out his show. He's doing his thing. And what's your goal now for subscribers? You're up to what now?
Hopefully 500 soon, maybe by the end of the year.
All right, well, let's get Martin to 500, and that way he can start looking up to 1,000, and that's when just keep this thing rolling. So, Martin, it's good to see you, man. Enjoy your piano, and one of these days I'll have to have you play something on live YouTube for us.
Oh boy. Okay.
No pressure, of course.
Once I learn my new recital piece, maybe.
All right, we'd like to hear it. Let's do it. Bring the camera down there. All right, Martin, good to see you.
Take care, Martin.
See you, Martin.
See you guys.
All right. See you, Martin.
Take care.
Okay. All right, so let's go to, we haven't got to hear from Noah here. I wanted to get your take. This whole let Russ cook. We got Calvin wanting to throw the ball more with a little bit more percentage of just more pass, less run. And we got Bryant saying, nah, man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe a slight little bit of play design is a little bit different, but minor tweaks. Noah, where do you stand on this issue?
Look, so before we get into it, because this all ties in perfectly hand in hand with the whole Pete Carroll debate. So, Brian, I have to ask you, because we have to establish some common ground. How do you feel Russell Wilson stacks up against the other quarterbacks in the NFL? I say last year, had Russell Wilson been in Andy Reid's offense, essentially built an offense built around his arm talent and his ability to move, I say Russell Wilson is better than Patrick Mahomes as of right now because of the fact that he has all this experience. He's seen more defenses, and he's better at the line of scrimmage. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with that, but that, in my opinion, that doesn't matter, because if you put Patrick Mahomes in the Seahawks lineup behind some of the offensive lines that they've had and with some of the lack of offensive talent they've had, I'm not sure he could have done what Russ did in this offense. Exactly. I think everything is put in place to complement your guy behind the center. So Andy Reid's offense has been adjusted for Patrick Mahomes, which, to your point, makes a lot of sense. But he's also got much better personnel up front. He had much better skilled positions at every single position for the longest time. The Seahawks are now catching up to where I think they're in the ballpark. So that's why I agree in part that it makes sense to give Russ a little bit more action early. But my main point is, what he does in the first half sets up his success for the second half. And Patrick Mahomes hasn't shown the ability to be one of the top quarterbacks when it comes to the clutch situation yet.
We're on the same page about this. Like, we both highly regard Russell Wilson. I say he's the best quarterback in the NFL. So with that constant belief that we share that belief, right? What are we doing with this offensive line and this rushing attack to go away from Russell Wilson so much? I'm not saying we have to abandon the run. I think that it takes having a good running attack and a great passing attack, but all we do in the first half is conservative. I understand we're setting up plays. We used to set up a whole lot of those flea flickers, those toss back to Russell Wilson. I'm 100% behind you. I think we need to keep doing that. But what I think letting Russ cook means is every now and then throughout the first half, we always go to it late in the game. Norb, you talked about this. This is your idea. I love your idea. Bringing the no huddle offense to the first half. What are you doing what are you saying when you do the no huddle in the first half? You're putting the ball in Russell Wilson's hands and you're saying, we trust you to make the decisions. They're afraid to do that because what happens if he goes 3 incompletions and it's a stalled drive and now the defense is back on the field? Well, I think by going into that, you're trusting in your quarterback, Russell Wilson, saying we believe in your reads, and that you're going to be successful.
And that's a great point. And if I can address that, Norb, I agree with you, but I'll tell you why they don't go to it in the first half and why they've only gone to it when they've had to. It's not because they don't trust Russell Wilson. They've got 100% trust. I mean, Russell Wilson has checked out of plays and made incredible decisions and has saved the offensive coordinator's butt multiple times. The reason they haven't is because the other personnel on numerous occasions, and this comes from Luke Wilson, said, we've screwed it up. We continuously have made mistakes in a no-huddle offense. And for that reason, it's thrown them out of rhythm. It's taken them out of what they were planning to do, and they had to start from scratch. So they backed off doing a lot of that no-huddle stuff until they've absolutely been in a position where they've had to do it.
Well, but when I've seen Seattle do the no-huddle, it's usually the last 2 minutes of the game and the last 2 minutes of the first half, and usually a lot of great magic happens there. I can't remember the last time Seattle ran a no-huddle early in like the first quarter or early in the second quarter. I mean, can you actually remember a time when they actually ran the no-huddle? Like I would think I would have remembered going, whoa, we're running no-huddle here. Where did this come from? I just don't remember that. So I don't remember them screwing it up when they didn't have to. Maybe they screwed it up because it was at the end of a game or something. But my point on the no-huddle thing is, I understand the people are going to say that's a bad idea, is if you run that midway through the second quarter, right, and your defense just got off the field, they're winded, then you run no huddle, go 3 and out, then you got to kick your defense right back out there. Not a good idea. But my thought was at the beginning of the game, if we receive, usually we kick the ball if we get the choice, but let's say we receive the ball, why not, everybody's fresh, nobody's tired yet at that point, why not run a little no huddle to start the game? Just throw the defense in this like, whoa, wait a second, this is not what Seattle does. And I mean, is that crazy?
Yeah. I don't know that it's crazy, but I will address one thing. You said everybody's fresh, nobody's tired, which is what everybody would think, and it makes common sense. But actually, the science of it, and I learned this from Coach Dick Baird, University of Washington, is that when you start a game, your adrenaline is pumping so much, you're actually more winded when you start a game than once you've gotten into the rhythm of a game and run a few plays. So those people are coming out, they're hyperventilating, they're all juiced up, and then you want to throw them into a no huddle. Sometimes that might not play into the hands the way you want it to.
Well, I would just like to see it. Because I'd love to see it and go, whoa, that didn't work out. Well, maybe that's a bad idea. But I guess there's so many times when we feel like the game starts out, you're ready to go, all right, okay, Russell's got the ball. What?
Norb.
What?
Leonard Fournette to Tampa Bay.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That makes my Ronald Jones pick garbage.
Well,
I got Kayshawn Vaughn.
So I'm playing fantasy for the first time in Noah's league, by the way, and I drafted Fournette, and then he messages me and says, Norb, you realize Fournette just got released? And I was like, oh, what do I do now? And I got advised, hold on to him. Because I was, tempted, like, well, maybe I need to trade or something like that. You even said maybe you need to trade for running back. But I had other advisors saying, hold on, Fournette's good, man. Don't get rid of him quite yet. And bam, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's
they
pretty
got
awesome.
A lot of mouths to feed. Okay, they got LaShawn McCoy, Kayshawn Vaughn, Ronald Jones. Jesus.
Well, I mean, I know running back by committee never works well in fantasy, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Fournette's good, though. But, all right, getting back on track here. What were we saying? We're talking about the no-huddle thing. And, I guess...
Well, I gave you the science, and you kind of scoffed at it. But that,
I didn't scoff at it,
that
Brian.
comes from Coach Dick Baird of the University of Washington, who has some experience in it. So I'm just saying that's just one reason. That's not the only reason. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try it, and I agree with you. I think a lot of people would like to see it.
Well, and I think what's interesting about that approach is Seattle, 95% of the time, is if they win the toss, they elect to go on defense and defer to the second half, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
That means
that's what you should do.
Then that means exactly. I love it when they do, and then and especially when it's the home crowd and all that. But so when Seattle's defense comes out, what you're saying then is by doing so, the defense is actually more tired being the first ones out in the field than if they were, say, to go on offense in the beginning. Is that right?
No, I'm saying that if you send your offense out there, let's say you receive the kick, and you start running your no-huddle offense right away, those first series of plays is when everybody's adrenaline's running. You watch both the offense and the defense. You'll see guys with their hands on their hips in the first few plays, and then you won't see it again until toward the end of the game or after a long drive. It's because that initial shock of getting into the game with your adrenaline pumping and hyperventilating causes you to be a little bit more out of breath, almost as if you've played already. That's all I'm saying. And again, that's not my science. I didn't invent it. I was just listening to a coach. So, heck, it could be 100% not true. But I actually have watched for guys with their hands on their hips who are tired in the first few plays of the game, and it seems to be true.
So what you're saying is it's not an issue about. Well, we're not debating that science could be true. But what you're saying is the reason that doesn't bode well for a no huddle offense is that could actually result in a lack of proper execution because either they're too overexcited, they're too tired, that they don't run the routes properly. It might actually work disadvantageously as opposed to trying to get into that rhythm, right? Is that basically what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. Well,
can I respond?
Just jump in, and Cal, you can jump in too if you want to. But go ahead, Noah.
See, we're not disagreeing. Where I think you go wrong, Brian. Unfortunately, that's the problem here, because when you talk about the guys being tired in the beginning, I completely I'll buy that. I'll take that. I'll take your statistic. I'll take your science. I completely agree. But I don't think that they're more tired on the first drive of the game than they are on the last drive of the game. And regardless, we always end up doing this no huddle on the last drive of the game. So regardless, I'm not buying this tired. I think it's mano-y-mano to say, hey, look, because a lot of the concern also early on in the ball game is that while, yes, we've seen what this team has shown on film, week 1 last year, that head coach for Cincinnati hadn't even shown us anything yet, so we didn't know what to expect. So I understand coming out conservative in that scenario, but it's almost mano-y-mano to come out with your chest out like, look, we got Russell Wilson, we're coming out 4 wide, Greg Olsen or Will Dissly in there, and we're going to trust our guys regardless of what you come out in to make the right decision. We can audible to a run if we have to. We can run RPO, but we're going to let Russell Wilson be the decision maker. And it's because of that I say no, not enough credit or too much credit to Pete Carroll. Give the decisions to Russell Wilson, and he'll make Pete Carroll look smarter.
Let me ask you guys. You guys are a couple Wazoo guys, right?
Yeah.
What has Wazoo been doing for the last 4, 5, 6, whatever years? They don't even run the ball, right? They just air it out. I'm not just this theoretical that doesn't even make any sense to actually apply because that will never happen. But like with Russell Wilson, would he have done better in a Wazoo-type air-it-out offense, or would he have done better in a ground Chuck Knox, run the ball, or even the Pete Carroll system? Which do you think he actually would thrive in more? Brian, it's a weird question, I know, but we're kind of taking like Russell Wilson. We talked about moving into a different offense. Do you think he'd be a better quarterback in a mostly pass-friendly offense versus one that's based on the run?
I think based on the run. Look what he did at Wisconsin. That was a run team. He took them to the Rose Bowl. Wazoo Cougs, I love them to death. They haven't won jack with that air raid offense. They're fun to watch. They put up great stats, but they haven't won. Russell Wilson's a winner. Winners win under any circumstances. I like the fact that Russ could potentially cook. I've got faith in him. Everybody does. Hey, anytime that guy wants to take over a ball game, it's open. But to do that, it is very helpful to him to establish a few things first. So my opinion is he would have done better in a run type of offense in college, but he would be fun to watch in an air raid offense.
That's for sure. We'll never see it. We'll never see it here in Seattle. We could try to nudge it that way a little bit, but there's imagining a fantasy world where Russell Wilson's just slinging it on every play. All right, so I think we've pretty much debated. You guys want to add anything left? Calvin, do you want to add anything to this argument here? Go ahead. Just jump in.
Noah, you had something to say?
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. You know what? I think because he's such a transcendent talent, I understand everything that you're saying, Brian, but I think that he could succeed in any system, especially with how good and how great he is now. Maybe not earlier on in his career, maybe back during his college days, his first couple of seasons in the NFL. Yeah, maybe it's like, okay, he has to be in this sort of offense to be successful, but I think that the quarterback that we're seeing before our very eyes now, the best quarterback in football, according to Noah, in the NFL today, he's that good, he's that talented, he's that transcendent, he can succeed in any system.
All right, I got to recognize in the chat, I've been neglecting Jeremy Goebel, who's been blowing up the super chat. My bad, my friend. He wants to make an NHL comment. Since the NHL named the Seattle Kraken, what will Chrysostom be a fan as a rival to NorbCam?
I don't know. I don't do hockey, but we'll figure something else out. Maybe we'll have some fights because, I like fighting, and hockey's all about fighting. So, yeah, let's get some fights going on. Yeah. Crack up, crackhead, whatever. Go 49ers.
All right. Thanks for the super chat, Jeremy. Appreciate you throwing some Kraken in there. It'll be fun to actually go see a Kraken game. I'm not a hockey guy. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a big hockey guy. Maybe I'm missing out because I keep talking about people saying NHL is one of the greatest sports to watch, especially in the playoffs. But I just haven't gotten that bug yet. Brian, are you a hockey fan?
I am. I'm going to be a bigger hockey fan now that we've got, a little horse in the race with the Kraken. So, but I do. I enjoy the playoffs. Didn't grow up playing the sport here in the PNW. There wasn't too much of that. There wasn't high school hockey teams or anything, so I'm not as immersed in that as the other sports. But I think you and I are both gonna catch the bug because it's super exciting to go to a game.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the new arena and all that. It'll definitely be a fun spectacle to behold. And I am going to give my college try to really understand and get into the game. I've got a professional team now that I can root for, so it would behoove me to give the sport everything I can. So at least that way, when the Kraken does go and succeed, I can actually feel like I was following the team and not just jumping on when they are going to win the Stanley Cup and then start cheering for them. I got to get there before the beginning, right? All right, so. Have we discussed at length enough the Russell Cook? Is there anything else that you guys want to bring up? No, I feel like you should get one last jab in there.
I do got to respond because, Brian, this might surprise the audience here. I agree with you. And what I'm asking for, what I'm calling for is something in between, right? Like, I like apple muffins, I like cinnamon muffins, but apple cinnamon muffins, oh my Lord, they go crazy. They are my favorite type of muffin because they're right in the middle. They're the best of both worlds. If we talk about air raid offense, so we have to set the stage equal, right? So if we're equally as talented in a rush first offense with the Cowboys offensive line and Ezekiel Elliott and Russell Wilson versus if we're the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line with that kind of talent, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in the pass game, I think Russell Wilson is more successful in the run game because he helps overcompensate or helps compensate for a weakened pass attack. That's what Russell Wilson's strength is. In order to win the ball game, you're going to have to run it at some point. So I'm not saying we go away from the run. I'm saying we have to have more versatility. We have to surprise defenses more. We come out so conservative running on first, second, third down consistently. Like, we'll have drives where all we do is run the ball, throw it maybe once or twice on the whole drive. And I'm like, okay, if it's working, so be it. But there are a lot of games where it's not working, and we fall behind 20-0 to San Francisco in the first half. And we're not trusting Russell Wilson enough. And in the second half, he comes back and comes within 6 inches and whatnot. So I think that Russell Wilson has so many abilities. He is, like we said, we are heralding him as the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm saying give him the apple cinnamon muffin, give him the best of both worlds, give him more opportunity. Because right now, while it might be like 51-49 run game, with Russell Wilson's talent and our struggling offensive line, especially going into this year, we're going to have 3 new starters, especially on the right side of our offensive line. So especially this year, I say we just even it out a little bit more, give some more love to Russell Wilson. I'm not saying go full air raid like Wazoo. Brian, you're exactly right. It's going to get you a lot of points. Unless you have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, you're not going to win a Super Bowl. And even them almost lost the Super Bowl. They were down 10 in the fourth quarter. If it weren't for a couple of mistakes and a couple of 50-50 plays, 3rd and 15 and Tyreek Hill, who knows what happens in that Super Bowl. So I'm completely with you. The air raid is not a formula that's going to lead to success, but I'm saying for a drive or two, let's air it out.
In the chat, Rohan, our 49er resident fan, says it was 13-0. The Niners scored as much in the first half as they did in the second half. And Noah, blueberry muffins are greater than apple muffins. I don't agree with Rohan most of the time, but I do like blueberry muffins better than apple muffins, personally speaking. But we're talking about muffins, for God's sake, here in football. All right, so let's see. I know we got people asking, is there going to be a Kahoot, a trivia? There will be, and that is going to be, of course, the last part of the show, but I want to make sure we cover all of our topics here. So we talked about the defense. We talked about Jamal Adams. We talked about letting Russ cook. Any last thoughts, last things we want to cover here? That we did pick up, now I want to ask this to you guys, picking up Paul Richardson, free agency here late last week. I'm not sure if this is, should I be excited that we have Paul Richardson, or do I think, oh my God, what's happening to our receiving core depth that we needed to draft Paul Richardson? Calvin, let's get you in here first. What was your reaction to Paul Richardson? What do you think it means for the Seahawks bringing him in? I'm a little concerned, personally.
Don't be concerned. I think that we did need a little bit more depth, and that's exactly what he brings to the table. He's just, depth. Last time he was in Seattle, he had a career year, best year to date, 703 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's a deep threat. Obviously, Russell Wilson, if not the best, if he's not one of the best, he is the best throwing the deep ball. And now you give him another guy who can run deep, Philip Dorsett, DK, Paul Richardson. I think that only enhances our depth. Philip Dorsett is a little bit injury prone, and Paul Richardson's a little injury prone himself. But I think that he just added insurance. He's added depth. I don't think that you should be worried at all whatsoever. And I think that because he's familiar with the system, we're more comfortable with bringing him along. I think that speaks more volumes about how I think we have a lack of confidence in Freddie Swain and some of the other guys that we picked up in the draft, some of our younger guys, John Ursua. Maybe that shows that we're not very confident in those guys to fill out our number 4 and number 5 receiving spots. So I think that by bringing in Richardson, he knows the system. He's played with Russell Wilson. He had his best years in Seattle. I think that it's a good thing. And I was very surprised when it happened. I didn't know that we were looking to sign a veteran like him. I didn't know we were looking to bring him back. And so I'm very glad that we did, and I think that it's going to pay off.
Well, and I think, when Paul Richardson did very well for himself. He had a career year in that last year with Seattle. Unfortunately, it was the year he had a great year, but we didn't make the playoffs. But he goes and signs a $20 million guaranteed deal with the Redskins. And what does he do? Nothing. He had I think 48 catches over 2 years, less than half a season last year due to injuries. It was sad for the team that picked him up, the Redskins, but as much as I was hoping he would have success, it is ironic that here he is back with the Seahawks, and hopefully he can stay healthy because he did have a great final season. So this kind of transitions into that question. We talk about letting Russ cook, but there's 2 parts to the equation. To let Russell cook as a chef, he needs 2 ingredients, right? Well, Russ is part of the ingredients. The other part is he's got to have someone to throw to. And we have quite a bit of faces in there, some great ones, and we got a lot of new ones at tight end and receiver. Brian, let's just do kind of a whole evaluation. Your take on what you think about the receiving and tight end core of this 2020 Seattle Seahawks. I'll share you my opinion in a second, but give me your overall feeling about how excited you are about the receiving core and the tight end core.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Noah and I think Martin kind of hit on this a little bit earlier. I think this is probably the best personnel set that Russell Wilson's had to work with on offense, wide receiver and tight end wise. He's loaded. He's got depth. They've got guys that they could run in there. If they wanted to do the air raid, they could run in one wide receiver after another and just run those DBs deep and tire them out all game if that's what the strategy they wanted to have is. They've got guys with good hands. They've got experienced guys. They've got route runners. DK Metcalf, as Calvin said, is possibly the next Calvin Johnson. I mean, he's got all the tools. He showed how good he is last year. Russ loves him. Adding Paul Richardson is only going to help the situation. He's a veteran presence. He's been with Russ. Russ loves him, by the way. He and P-Rich have a great relationship, and they had extremely good chemistry when Richardson had his, record year and got himself that big contract. He's been injury prone, but what you need that guy to do is be in maybe 8 plays a game, catch 4 or 5 touchdowns this season, and that impact enough for the very low, cheap price that you're getting him for is well worth bringing him onto the team. So I'm hyped, man. I think this offense is going to be super fun to watch.
Brian, DK Metcalf, how good is this guy?
Yeah, he's incredible. He's as good at wide receiver as I said Russell Wilson was going to be his rookie season when I said Russ was going to be the starter, and everybody, including Sports Illustrated, laughed at me. That's how good DK is. He is the next superstar in this franchise and in the NFL.
Let's go to Calvin. Calvin, tell me your favorite aspects of this wide receiving / tight end core.
Man, I think the versatility. We got deep threats in Tyler Lockett, Philip Dorsett, Paul Richardson. We have a big-bodied guy who can catch 50-50 balls in DK Metcalf. We have a whole lot of run blocking in our tight end department. Greg Olsen, Will Dissly. Coming out of college, Will Dissly was known more for his run blocking than he was for his pass catching prowess. And now look at him in the NFL tearing it up when he has been on the field. And so I think that overall, you look at a receiving core, both wide receivers and tight ends. I love the versatility that all these guys bring to the table. They all bring different skill sets to the table. Tyler Lockett could also return kickoffs, return punts. Who else is over there? Philip Dorsett, he was a former first-round pick. He could not only run the deep ball, you could put him in the slot, watch him do his thing. We have a whole lot of versatility, and I love everything about the offense, really.
Noah, what do you want to add to that? The wide receiving tight end core. I know you got praises for the tight ends, but let's just get your whole overall assessment of this department that we got of hands to catch Russell Wilson's passes.
I agree with the room. I agree. This is the best group Russell Wilson has ever had to pass the football to. And I'm really excited for it as well. I think bringing back Paul Richardson not only is bringing back another deep threat. You guys mentioned how he had such a fall off, a drop off for his years in Washington, 262 yards and 245 yards respectively in each of those seasons. Last year in Seattle, he had 703 and 6 touchdowns, whereas both years in Washington, only 2 touchdowns. What the biggest difference is between Washington and Seattle, which I am super excited to bring him back for this exact reason. In Washington, he averaged 13.1 yards per reception and then 8.8 yards per reception in his final season in Washington, whereas his last season in Seattle, he averaged 16 yards per reception. That is a deep threat adding to this this wide receiving core that's already so versatile. We have the big guy that can go up and get it. We have the fast guy that can outrun your defense. Now we have another deep threat to go along with Philip Dorsett. It's creating depth. It's creating speed. I think what Pete Carroll was making with this move, and I love this move of bringing back Paul Richardson, because you look within the division, and last year when Jalen Ramsey got traded to the Los Angeles Rams, now Seattle's like, okay, we're going to go get our number one secondary player in Jamal Adams. We have the blockbuster trade. We see what they're doing, and we're doing it our way, but better. Well, the 49ers just last week or 2 weeks ago go and sign 3 wide receivers, and I come on here talking about how desperate they look. Well, we see what they're doing, and we're like, look, we're going to be more explosive than even you guys. We're bringing back our guy. They brought in Tavon Austin, whose prime was practically back with Jerry Rice, and Jerron Brown trying to get into our heads and our locker room and whatnot. Pete Carroll is saying, look, they're trying to load up. We're loading up. We got our guys. You got our guys. Mano a mano. Let's run it. I love it.
So quick thought in the super chat. Duron Everest says, is John Ursua making the team? Slot guy. What do you guys think? John Ursua, we didn't see much of him at all. I got 1 catch and almost scored the winning touchdown against the 49ers. Couldn't quite get the ball over the end zone. He's been quiet, but he is apparently today was returning punts. So what do you guys think? Is Ursua? We got a lot of bodies in there. Does Ursua make the team? Brian.
That's a great question, and you know, not covering the team and not really being able to have any preseason games or you having the close connection that we as fans are used to having with the team during this COVID time. My sense is, from everything that I've been told, is that he's going to make the team. The Seahawks do really, really like him, and he's grown tremendously in the offseason. He really put in some work in the offseason, and what they've said is, during practice, he's not going through the thinking process. So he's able to react more. He's a lot quicker now out there when it comes to whatever play they're running or whatever offense they're establishing. He knows what's going on, and they really do like him. The question is at some point in time, do they try to put him on the practice squad and risk that somebody else is going to pick him up and put him on their 53-man roster? I don't know that they're willing to do that, and for that reason, I think, he'll make the team.
Do you have any idea why he got so few touches and wasn't even suited up for so many games last year?
He was a rookie.
Big mystery.
I mean, I don't know what else to tell you except for anybody that comes in from the draft that's drafted in the position that he was, which was where?
Like right at the end of the 7th round.
You're fortunate just to make a practice squad at that point in time, but the Seahawks had their eye on him for a long time, and they grabbed him, and they thought that he was going to be a good player they can develop, and I feel like they're saying all the things that would make us think that John Ursua is becoming the player they thought that he was going to be when they drafted him. So that's why I think he's going to make the team.
All right. Calvin and Noah, any other thoughts contrary to that? You think Ursua is going to stick with the team? Maybe have a little bit more involved role this year?
I think he definitely sticks with the team. So you look at some of the receivers on the team, right? Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Philip Dorsett, Paul Richardson, David Moore. That's 5 receivers. I think John Ursua makes it number 6. He'll be the 6th receiver on the team. And going back to what Brian said earlier about him being drafted in the 7th round, I remember when we drafted him, I actually read a couple of scouting reports that said that he shouldn't have been drafted. He should have been signed as an undrafted free agent. So I think the fact that we reached for him in the 7th round and took them before other teams had the opportunity to sign him as an undrafted free agent speaks volumes about the type of confidence, the type of potential that we see in this player. And Brian's also right. I think that if we move on to practice squad, that leaves or that gives an opportunity for other teams to kind of swoop in and take it from us. So I think that's the reason why he makes it as a 6th receiver. I think that's the reason why we're trying him out in the punt return game, just so he adds a little bit more value to the team, not just as a receiver, but also as a returner. I've heard reports that we're looking to kind of ease Tyler Lockett's workload and not have him return as many kickoffs and punt returns. So I think that if John Ursula shows some flashes at returning kickoffs and punts, I think that gives them even more reason to keep him on the team. But yeah, I agree. I think that he makes it, and he'll be the 6th receiver on the Seattle Seahawks.
And Andrews, go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, Stephen Sullivan, the rookie out of LSU that they picked in the 7th round this year, he's another guy that they really like that can play tight end and play wide receiver, that may have a chance to make the ball club if they feel like they could put him on the practice squad, and he's not going to get swept up and put on somebody's roster. So that's another cat that's kind of in the John Ursua situation, different style player, different position, really, but another one to keep an eye on.
Andrew Sund in the super chat says, or not super chat, but in the chat says, Norb has a crush on the guy. I think he's talking about John Ursua, because I always talk about John Ursua, bring his name up when it's a guy who's barely even been on the radar. It's because I had a nice in-depth interview with John Ursua. You can look it up on my YouTube channel back in training camp before the season started. And he was one of the coolest guys, so down to earth. Really wanted to see this guy succeed, and I'm hoping that still will have a chance to happen. But really cool guy. That's why it looks like I have a crush on him. He's just a great guy. One of the nicest down to earth guys I've ever met. I just want to give him my 2 cents here. So, my feeling, and I thank you guys for shining the light on the Paul Richardson side of things, because I was a little concerned because it would seem like there was a lot of injuries, banged up guys in those lower tiered levels of the receiving corps. I was afraid maybe this is just more serious. They need to bring more help down there. But I'm really excited. I think the 2 guys who I'm looking at to kind of surprise and shine everybody, first of all, on the tight end, no surprise to our group, but no one's really talking about Will Dissly. But I think Will Dissly is going to be huge for Seattle this year. He's been huge every single start of every season. And if he could have finished the season, I think you did a very in-depth story about that, Noah, about how huge his season would have been. Better than, what's his name from the 49ers?
Twice George Kittle's amount of touchdowns last
George
year.
Kittle. He would have had more touchdowns if he could have stayed healthy. Obviously, it's all theoretical.
More than twice.
More than twice. So, and I know those things, like you start hot and it just keeps going. But my feeling, though, is if Dissly stays healthy and if Olsen, those 2 guys can just keep around and stay healthy enough to play the entire season, that's going to be huge for so many aspects of the running game, the passing game. We were down to 1 tight end last year, and we still almost won the division. But then on the receiving side, I expect everyone knows DK is going to be great. Tyler Lockett's going to do what he does, but I went from sort of lukewarm to really excited about Philip Dorsett. I guess I didn't realize how fast he was, and he just wasn't much of a target of Tom Brady's at the Patriots for whatever reason. But just hearing what they're talking about, his speed, and if he can not let this injury sort of slow him down, I just love the idea of having a DK speed scorching down the field with that big jumping body of his. Philip Dorsett scorching down the field. Tyler Lockett finding the open spots, and then the 4th receiver just sort of finding all the leftovers and taking all the stuff that the other defense will cover up everybody else trying to, and then someone else is the tight ends and everybody else is just going to have all the stuff. Russell's going to have so many options, it's just going to be crazy. So I think Philip Dorsett and Will Dissly, I think the 2 guys who, to me, are going to surprise everybody in terms of coming out here and standing out in ways that they didn't expect in 2020. Let's see, what else? Anything else, guys? I guess the only last thing... Chris Carson?
Yes.
Okay, all right, the last thing. We haven't talked about the running game. We've been talking about Russell cooking. We've been talking about the receivers and the tight ends. Let's talk about that run game, which is really what the Seattle's bread and butter is all about. And we know that right now there's been some discussion about what's the receiving or the running back depth look like. So I think right now we know Chris Carson's looking good. He's healthy. He's missed some practices because of personal family deaths in the family, unfortunately. But Chris Carson, number 1. We know that Rashad Penny's on the PUP list. So that puts Carlos Hyde solid at number 2. and then I guess DJ Dallas at number 3. Let's start with Brian. Your thoughts on this Seahawks running back crew? Do you think it's going to be a just as productive running game as we've seen in the past? What do you think?
Carson, Homer, DJ Dallas, Carlos Hyde. Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. I think that those guys are all super solid. They've all got different skill set. They all bring something to the table. We've seen how running backs go down. I think that should give you enough depth. They love the rookie DJ Dallas out of Miami. They say he's really smart. He's versatile. He's good at catching passes out of the backfield. He's learning all the blocking schemes, picking up, pass pro and all that stuff. So I think it's fantastic. And I'm as big of a Carson fan as anybody. And watching him go through that little fumble spell a year ago, that hurt, because as a former running back myself in Little League, junior high, and high school, nothing more than that. But I've always fancied myself as a running backs guy. My favorite player in the history of football is Walter Payton. I love running backs. So I loved Beast Mode, and I love Carson. To see him fumble kills me. So when you're a guy like that you've gone through fumbles and you've gone through injuries, I think you had this question earlier, how does the Joe Mixon signing of that contract help Carson? I don't think it does. I think Carson is who he is. I think if the Seahawks want him and they want to sign him to an extension at some point in time, it won't cost him very much.
Do you think the Seahawks will bring him back? We've debated that. I think we have some mixed opinions on it. I love the guy, but man, I don't know. The contracts for running backs has kind of been, after the Mixon one, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, maybe they are paying running backs again. What do you think? Will he be back in the Seahawks uniform in 2021?
Who, me?
You.
No, I don't. I think he'll probably get a little bit more money somewhere else. Not much. They are paying running backs, but they're not paying them a lot. And this Fournette deal kind of highlights it. Hey, what was he, the 3rd or 4th pick in the draft? And after 3 years, he busts out of Jacksonville, not necessarily because of his play, but because of who he is. But then we see running backs emerge out of nowhere to become superstars. The philosophy in the NFL is that you need a stable of backs because they get beat up so badly, and that you can always find running backs no matter what. And you can get them fairly cheaply. And if you're going to pay for a guy, it's got to be a guy you consider to be a top 3 or 4 back in the league. We're talking about a McCaffrey, and we're talking about a very small group, an Alvin Kamara, multifaceted, multi-talented, a guy that can do everything type of running back. So, no, I don't think the Seahawks are going to pay him.
Well, it'll be sad for me to see Carson go if that is the case. But doesn't he do those things? I mean, he's had, 2 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, cut short by injuries. Yes, he fumbles, but at times he looks like it's just as good a back as some of those guys in that top tier you talk about. Let's get Noah's take on it. Go ahead, Brian. You want to finish that
I was just going to say, injuries, fumbles, and he was a 7th-round pick. You can find those guys that are a dime a dozen. They'll always come around. So, I mean, that's why I don't think they'll sign him. And believe me, I'm a huge Carson fan. I love his running style, his attitude, and everything. I just don't think that Seahawks are going to have a hard time replacing him.
All right. Calvin, your thoughts on that?
No, are we going to...
Go ahead, brother. Do your thing.
I think we should bring back Chris Carson. Money talks, but who's going to talk to Carson if he has yet to play a full 16-game season? I don't think that he's going to price himself out of Seattle. You look at the top 5 highest-paid running backs in football, it's Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Derrick Henry, and now Joe Mixon, with him signing a 4-year, $48 million deal, he places just outside of the top 5 in average annual value at $12 million. And you look at who's under him, you have guys like Kenyon Drake and Melvin Gordon around $8 million. I think around $7 to $8 million on an annual basis, I think would fit Carson just fine. I think they would be willing to commit that much. I understand what you're saying, Brian. You could find running backs anywhere. You don't even have to find them in the draft. You could sign an undrafted free agent, and you've seen those guys succeed in the league. But I think that with Chris Carson, the way that he runs, the way everything about him, he just fits Seattle's system. He's not quite up to the level of beast mode, but I think he's one of the closest running backs that we've seen to beast mode in the last couple of years. Just because of how hard he runs, how physical he runs.
I want to interrupt. There's a good comment here by Sonia Marie in the chat. She says, no, strongly disagree. It took the Hawks so long to have a solid replacement for number 24 and Chris Carson. That's a good point, because if running backs grow on trees, like you say, Brian, well, we haven't really had that solid guy until Chris Carson. Thomas Rawls, but again,
Thomas Rawls was a superstar for a short period of time.
A year and a half, 2 years.
Right. So there was a good running back. Now, he didn't pan out because he was too small and got injured too much. But you're always going to find a guy to replace it. And really, how long of a distance was it between the time Marshawn retired and the time we got Carson? 2 seasons, right?
It felt like forever. When Christian Michael was the guy back there, I was like, oh, God.
Christian Michael that guy was trash. That was a bad draft pick.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying, if it's so easy to plug and play, we'd have a great running back every single year, right? But we don't. So it's not. They don't always grow on trees. But Noah, you want to chime in here?
Wait. To that point, we have given up guys that have gone to start for other teams because we've had guys in place that were so much better. We've sent guys to Dallas and to Denver that have ended up starting running backs for those franchises and done well. So I'm not saying they grow on trees, but I'm saying that I think that that person's comment is just a little bit off. I think we've had better running backs in place than they realize. And if they go back and look at what those running backs did while they were in the system, they were doing exactly what Pete and those guys wanted them to accomplish. They just didn't last, because the running back position isn't a position where you last very long. The average lifespan in the NFL at running back is like 3 years.
Tell that to Adrian Peterson. All right, so Noah, you want to jump in here on the Carson debate?
Hey, man, Brian was preaching. You guys know, and finally somebody that kind of shares my opinion about Chris Carson. I love to watch him play. I'm not paying him top dollar. Like Brian said, the running back position, not only in general, does not last as long as other positions in the NFL, but the way that Chris Carson plays is so physical. That's why we bring in a guy like DJ Dallas, who can maybe be the next Chris Carson. You get him later on in the draft, if not undrafted, and he can come in and put his head down. He's trying to earn that first contract, and once they get that first big contract, they do tend to lose a little bit of that motivation. I'm saying I love Chris Carson. I also think that he gets paid more elsewhere. The most, and I'll put a figure on it, the most money that I would pay Chris Carson next year is $7 million. I would give him 7 because while yes, that is great value for him considering what Joe Mixon just got. Comparing Mixon's stats to Carson, well, last year they both had the exact same amount of carries. Carson had 100 more yards than Joe Mixon in that same amount of carries. He didn't have as much receiving yards, but he definitely created that as a part of his game more last year than the previous did Chris Carson. So he's becoming more versatile. He's adapting to our offense. Over the past couple of years, just 19 and 18, I can go down the entire stat lines. I'm not going to do that to you guys, but Carson last year, more touchdowns, and he's such a physical runner. He's not going to last as long at the position, and he's going to warrant top dollar in terms of at least top 5. I'm not paying him within the top 8 highest paid running backs in the NFL because none of them made the playoffs last year, and Seattle is a winning organization. So in order to keep that formula up, we can't pay top 8. That puts him right at about $7 million. That's where I would put his paycheck.
All right. Well, I think we said, even Calvin said $7 million, and like you said, at 7th round late draft pick, and the fumble and injury problems, maybe that's the best he's going to get. Maybe by default he just falls back, and Seattle gets the best deal that he can get. I don't know. We'll see.
And that's what I project to happen.
It all depends on how he does in 2020, right? Maybe he'll have his first full season. That would definitely help his situation out. Duron Everest in the Super Chat says, who retires first, KJ Wright or Greg Olsen? Greg Olsen's already got his retirement job waiting for him when he gets done. I don't know about you guys. To me, Greg Olsen, pretty clear to me. I don't know what you guys think. Any disagreement there? That Greg Olsen probably, this is his final, hopefully, the idea of him here come back to a winner and maybe get a chance to win a Super Bowl and then retire off to the sunset. You guys think the same thing? No disagreements there? All right, cool. We won't spend more time on that one then. Okay. All right. So unless there's something else, I know people are dying to get this trivia contest going. I'm excited actually to have Brian participate in this to test out his trivia knowledge. But any last point?
I'm not good at trivia, so
come on, man. There's going to be some questions that you can get here. Any last thoughts on the Seahawks before we drop and finish the wraps on this subject? I think we covered it pretty well. Are we missing anything? We talked offense, we talked defense, we talked Russell, we talked receivers, we talked, well, I guess when we didn't talk about was the offensive line.
I think we kind of touched on it. We mentioned,
we did. We talked a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was Calvin that talked about the three new faces, or maybe it was Noah. You know, there's at least three new faces on the offensive line, and I think you're going to see, and I think I said at the beginning, you're going to see the best offensive line that you've seen since Giacomini and Sweeney were on the line.
Justin Britt, the news of him coming back for a visit. I haven't seen anything since the news that he visited. Do you guys have you heard anything new? It doesn't mean anything, seeing that. I made me concerned a little bit about the center position.
He is still a free agent.
So they did not make any moves on him.
No. I think they want...
Go ahead, Calvin.
Sorry. I've been seeing reports that BJ Finney has struggled immensely in practice and that he's actually been practicing with the third team. And so I think that's actually one of the reasons why we brought in Justin Britt, because, like you said, I mean, we're a little concerned about some of the guys that we have at that center position. Boelter hasn't played center since he left college. And
but they didn't sign him yet. But they haven't signed Britt yet. He's not.
Well, yeah. But I think maybe they were just inquiring, maybe looking at the number. I think that eventually we do bring him in, because if a guy like BJ Finney, a free agent that we signed to, an $8 million deal, is struggling and practicing with the third string guys, that's a bad sign, especially with the regular season coming up in less than 2 weeks.
Brian, are you just concerned about the center position? Is anybody else?
I'm not thrilled about it. I'll say that. I'll say that if I do have a concern, that would probably be my number one concern, the offensive line in general, just to see how they gel. I'm excited about the new faces, and I think they have potential to be the best O-line that you've seen since Giacomini and Sweeney, because they've got some dogs. They've got some dogs now on that line, and they got rid of a drive killer, right, in Affetti. That guy used to kill drives. So I think you're right. I think the center is probably where my main focus of concern is on the entire team.
And it's such an important position, especially one where Russell's not going to have a lot of practice time, or game time situations to get familiar. So it is a little concerning, but I do like the rest of the line, though. I like Brown at the tackle. I like the
Brandon Shell.
Shell is good. It's great. The right tackle is solid. Damian Lewis, our right guard, right, is pretty
He's
much stud. So it's that center position, that very important center position. But hopefully they get that figured out. And I would not be disappointed if Justin Britt came back. I don't know about you guys, but
I agree.
Did they let him go because he was too expensive? They bring him back, and the value would be much cheaper since he's just floating around there right now. So I think that would be a positive move, especially since right now the guys who are in there kind of questionable if they're getting it done at center.
Well, they let him go, A, because of the money, but B, because he was coming off that injury. And I don't think that he showed that he was healing upright or in position to take a spot on the roster. So my guess is that they brought him back to kind of check his health, give him the physical, give him the once-over, see what he had in the tank, and maybe he and his agent and his team are trying to see if they can field some offers from some other teams. And now that Seattle's brought him in, he's got some leverage. So he might be out there shopping himself again. Or maybe the Seahawks decided, his health is still a concern for us. Who knows? It'll be interesting to find out.
All right, and finally, one last question, I guess, unless there's anything else. Or did you have anything to add? You did, Noah, right?
Come on now, we're talking
Go
about.
Go ahead, man. All right, well, maybe I'll shut you out. I know that the Kahoot, the trivia people are getting the itch here. So go ahead, Noah.
I got you. I'll keep it quick. So the center position is so important. I just want to reiterate the fact that
you were a center, by the way. We got former players all right here. We got running back and Brian Abker. We've got Noah the center. I was a receiver / DB, and actually I don't know, Calvin, did you play football?
I did. Receiver and DB.
That's right. So you and I, similar. Filipino receiver connection. Doug Baldwin style. Okay, so not this. Sorry to interrupt. Noah, go.
You got to get someone else that was in the trenches, man, to talk about this type of business. So the center is such an important position. I'm not going to go into everything that I have in the past. But what I will tell you is that there are two people that touch the ball every play, Russell Wilson and the center. That's why it's so important. That's why camaraderie is so important, especially with the area that the quarterback is keeping his hands down there. You got to have some trust in a brother to let him put his hands that close to your business. So I'll tell you that right now, like lifelong bonds are formed under center. I promise you that. So because of that, I want the guy that's been in the system a little bit longer. And this is before we knew, as Calvin said, B.J. Finney has been struggling in camp. Since before camp, you guys were all on B.J. Finney. I was saying Ethan Posick because he's been here and he has that camaraderie. We don't have a preseason to build that connection, to build that camaraderie with the quarterback or even with the backups. So going into week 1 against Atlanta, who you have a bet with Sleeta Sports Live in the ATL, I have a bet with Sleeta Sports Live in the ATL. I want to see the guy that we know knows the system, knows the offense. He's the captain of the offensive line. He's the one calling it. And considering the fact that we have two questionable guys on the right side, I think Damian Lewis is going to be great. I thought Jermaine Fetty was going to be great. We've had busts in the first round, let alone the third round, on our offensive line. So we don't know that they're going to be great yet. Communication is going to be key. There's not going to be fans in the stadium, so it'll be even more important. And I want the guy that's going to be able to get the message across the offensive line better, the guy that's been there. So start with Ethan Posick for camaraderie, potentially down the line of the season. God forbid an injury, but even without one, perhaps B.J. Finney is able to get it together later on in the season.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up the Seahawks discussion. I'm ready to do the Rishi. Can we do the trivia now, please? Yes, we will. Tyler Parcher was asking me, Norb, did you pick up Madden 21 yet? Bam! There it is. I got it right here, baby. I haven't even cracked the seal yet, but I'm excited to get this going on. So, yes, I do have it. I got the hard copy, not the download crap. I get to put this on my shelf when I was done. Madden curse in effect, baby, right there. We'll see if it happens. Lamar Jackson on the cover of Madden 21. So we'll see, all you fantasy people out there. But yes, excited to get this rolling. All right, let's do this. You guys ready for trivia? Brian, you ready to get your brain going here? Some mixed questions, a little old school, a little current stuff, and a little NorbCam. You guys ready to do this? Let's do this. I'm gonna get this number out here. So everybody, get your Kahoot.com set, your Kahoot apps. For the panel, you don't have to worry about that. We're just doing this as our own little informal thing. Brian, you've seen our trivias, right? So you know how this kind of works, right?
I've seen it. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out because I haven't paid full attention.
All right. Well, the way it works,
paying attention in general. So.
Well, the way it works for the three of you, since you're the panel, I'll read the trivia and I'll provide four. Typically, there's four answers. Sometimes there might be a true/false question in there, but I'll usually read four answers, just like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And for the people playing, on their game, when I read the answers in order, it's usually top left to the right, bottom left to the right. So follow along with your Kahoot. Most of you guys know how to do this, but let's do this thing. Here is the game. Let me get the screen up here and tell you where to find it. Here we go. And we're off. The game pin number is 767-9738. 767-9738. Punch that into your Kahoot app or Kahoot.com to be a part of the game. And there we go. KC Sports Nerd, first one in. We'll get as many as we can, up to 50 players, or however close we can get to it. I do want to thank Golden Seahawks 30, Colin, his real name. He actually provided some of the questions for the Kahoot. Sorry, Colin, I couldn't open your actual trivia contest because it wasn't sent to my current account, the one that I paid big bucks for, you know what I'm saying? So I did open it, though, my other account, and I pulled several questions out and added a few of my own. So it is a mix of Golden Seahawks, Colin, trivia, and NorbCam trivia. So we've got 28 players. Let's get it close to 50. Again, the number is 767-9738. Multiple choice, some true and false. And I'll be keeping score of the panel to see which of these three gentlemen is going to win this contest. There's a little bit of old school questions, a little new stuff, and a little bit of NorbCam itself. So we'll see how well our panel does, as well as you guys there on the YouTube side. 33 players, you get 30 more seconds to jump in. We got Deron Everest, Lamar Jackson with an X. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Great Bison 62, Brady, has names, say it. Norb is the best. Not the best, the best. Hitomi Kusisabo. Beano's, JJ DeBoss, Diggity Dog, RNS 21. We got 38 players now, 15 seconds to go. Chef Russ, I like that. Chef Russ, Dangerous in there. T-Man, Go Hawks, Michael Mullins, Rain City, Joey DeBoss 2000, Cameron Hughes. Cameron, I got to get you in here. I know you won that last contest, or at least you were given the spot to play in here. So, Cameron, I am going to get you in here on an upcoming show. Stay with me. 40 players, 5 seconds left, and then we'll start the contest. Again, the pin number 767-9738. We're starting the game in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, time's up. Let's go. Get ready. We are starting the game. Oh, 42 in here now. We're starting now. Good luck, everybody. NorbCam Trivia starts at 3, 2, 1. Question number 1. What year did the Seahawks win their last AFC West title? Is it 1999, 2000, 1988, or 1997? The Seahawks' last AFC West title. 99, 2000, 88, or 97? You have 3 seconds. Time is up. Ooh, it's even across the board. Look at that. Almost 9 across, but the 9s have it. 9 people out of YouTube got this correct. It was 1999, like Prince said. Let's go to the panel. Let's start with, I got Calvin on the scoreboard first, so Calvin, we'll start with you. Calvin, did you get this right?
It was 99, correct?
It was 99.
Well, I said 97.
I think we actually covered this in our last trivia contest. But yeah, it was 1999, the year we played the last game in the Kingdom against the Miami Dolphins. Lost that game after winning the division. Last game to be played in the Kingdom. Let's go to Noah. Did you get this one?
Man, I should have. Man, that's my birth year, but I said 97 too.
Oh, man, 0 for 2. But Brian, well, tie game no matter what. But Brian, do you have this one? Did you know this answer?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Well, zeros across the board for the panel. Let's see if how YouTube stands across here. Let's go to the scoreboard. So far, Crisostomo in first place, Michael Mullins in second, Norbis the Best in third, Joey the Boss 2000 in fourth, and Dangerous in fifth place. All right, let's go to the next question. Number 2. How many NFC West titles do the Seahawks have? 9, 8, 5, or 6? How many NFC West titles do the Seahawks have? 9, 8, 5, or 6? NFC West titles. Time is up. Oh, YouTube was all over this one. Again, I do believe we've covered this question before. 20 of you got this correct on YouTube. 8 is the correct answer. Let's go to the board, or to the panel, I should say. Calvin.
So I actually guessed, and my guess was 8.
All right. Calvin is on the board with 1 point. Noah.
I do believe we had this on I feel like it was like 2-3 weeks ago, and I remember it was 8.
All right. Brian, you got to catch up with the crew here.
I got 8.
All right. 3-way tie, 1 point apiece. Looks like everybody had that one. Pretty easy answer there. Let's go to the scoreboard and see how things shake up. Chrysostomos remains in first place. Michael Mullins in second. Dangerous moves up to third. Nick LaBow on the scoreboard into fourth place. And MHL JDE at top 5 and up 38 spots. Andrew Sund, I believe, out of Dallas, Texas, up 38 spots, trying to get on the top 5. Next question. Question number 3. Which of these players holds the record for most interceptions in one season? Kenny Easley, Eugene Robinson, Dave Brown, or Richard Sherman? Which player has the record for most interceptions in a season? Kenny Easley, Eugene Robinson, Dave Brown, or Richard Sherman? Time is up. Oh, a lot of you fell for the trap. 19 of you guys thought it was Richard Sherman, but no, it was Kenny Easley. Kenny easily holds the record for the most interceptions. Sherman was right behind him there, but easily with the record. Let's go to the panel, starting with you, Calvin.
See, I remember the question, but I realized too late because I said Dave Brown, was it? But when you said Kenny Easley, I was like, hold up, it is Kenny Easley. But I said Dave Brown or whatever his name was.
Okay.
Whatever his name was, the dude's a Ring of Honor, possible Hall of Fame guy.
One of my favorites.
I'm sorry.
All right, so Calvin missed that one. Noah.
I didn't know the answer to this, so I went with the guy who leads Seattle in all-time interceptions, Dave Brown.
And that would be incorrect. Does Brian know this one?
No, I went with whatever his name is.
Well, you guys are like lockstep with the answers here. Okay, so no points for the panel. Let's see how the YouTube scoreboard shakes out after that one. Threw a lot of people off. Let's go. Scoreboard is dangerous. Moves up to the top spot. Crisosimo drops to second. OTC Seattle up to third place. Michael Mullins to fourth. Andrew Sun at number 5. He's moving up there in the world. Gets to the top 5. Here's the next question. Question number 4. Who is the Seahawks all-time scoring leader? Russell Wilson, Norm Johnson, Stephen Hauschka, or Danny Etling? Who is the Seahawks all-time scoring leader? Russell Wilson, Norm Johnson, Stephen Hauschka, Danny Etling. Time is up. Well, 13 of you on YouTube got this one correct. Norm Johnson, the kicker for your Seahawks, the all-time leading scorer. Let's go to this is a question by Golden Seahawks 30 Colin, by the way. Calvin, did you know this one?
Once again, I realized too late. By the time you said the answer, I was like, he's asked this before, but I said Stephen Hauschka.
Usually the kickers. Surprisingly, you know, most people don't always think of kickers, but kickers always get those points. But yes, would have been a good second place guess. Noah.
Well,
Oh, shit.
first of all, I've asked this question at least twice on the ball. Second of all, I'm starting a new show on Wazoo next Tuesday, and I was using some old Boelter questions to test out one of my new panel guys, and I actually asked him this question, so I remembered for a fact that it was Norm Johnson before he even gave the name.
Okay, all right. So Noah gets the kicker correct. Brian, you okay over there?
Man, I spilled something. That wasn't cool. So
I heard you, and I thought only one thing could cause a reaction like that is you had to have knocked something off and spilled it, and sure enough, I hope it's nothing too staining. But Brian, did you at least get a correct answer on this one? Did you pick
Mr.
Norm
Automatic,
Johnson?
man. Mr. Automatic and friends with the 12th pony. Absolutely.
That's right, man. If you recall, I don't know if you remember when we did our my movie in the Valley Cinemas. There, you were the MC. You hosted that. I appreciate you doing that. Do you remember Norm Johnson was in the house for that event?
Man. It was awesome. It was such a great time.
It was a great time.
He's a classic Seahawk. So yeah, that's one of the ones I was able to get here so far in the trivia.
All right, so Brian and Noah with a 2-point tie game right now with Calvin with 1. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard. Oh, Crisosimo back on top. Dangerous moves to second. Nick LaBow up to third. OTC Seattle at fourth. And Cameron Hughes moves up to 5th place. Next question. For number 5, true or false? Seattle is the only city to have ever named their pro football team the Seahawks. True or false? Seattle is the only city to have ever named their pro football team the Seahawks. Another question from Golden Seahawks 30, Mr. Collins. Actually, not Mr. Collins, Colin. True or false? 50-50 choice here. Seattle is the only city to have ever named their pro football team the Seahawks. True or false? Oh, fooled a lot of the YouTubers out there, the YouTube audience. 15 of you guessed this correct. The answer is false. There was a team back in the 40s named the Miami Seahawks. And let's see if our panel had any idea of this old old trivia information here. And Calvin.
Well, at first I said true. False. But then I was like, hold up, we're one of a kind. See, I was a unique city, and I'm sure we chose a unique name. And so I was like, nah, true.
Oh, he had the right answer, and he second-guessed himself wrong. Noah.
At first I was trying to psychoanalyze you, and then you said you weren't the one that made the question. And then, so I thought about it, I'm like, wait, Colin, I know him a little bit. I'm like, would he ask this question if the answer wasn't false? And so I actually said false because I'm like, there's no reason you ask this. Seahawks is so rare. I have no idea about the 1940 Miami Seahawks, but based on logic, I just said false.
And Brian, I don't know if you know this by now, but Noah is like, you might as well, if you weren't a sports broadcasting major, I assume you'd be a psychology major, because all you do is psychoanalyze everything about questions being asked, the face of the person asking the question, the order of things, and that was well played. Well played, Mr. Noah. Gets 3 points for that effort. Brian, you seem to have known this one, did you?
I did, yeah. I'm old, Norb. So that's in my wheelhouse of trivia right there.
All right, so Brian and Noah staying neck and neck, 3 points apiece with Calvin at 1. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard, see how that shakes out after this little tricky question. Ooh, only at the bottom, but at the top, not too much changes. Chrysostomo at first place, Dangerous at second, Nick LaBow in third, Cameron Hughes climbs up to fourth place, and Beano's, don't want to know how that name came to be, but moves up to the fifth position. Isn't Beano's that stuff you take when you have the farts? Isn't that what Beano's is? I've never taken it. Probably should sometimes, but anyway. Especially when I have those milkshakes from Kid Valley. Woo. All right, let's go to the next question right here. Question number 6. Multiple answer here. Which of these players was the defensive player of the year for the Seahawks? Kenny Easley, Cortez Kennedy, Brian Bosworth, Richard Sherman. Which of these players was the defensive player of the year for the Seahawks? Kenny Easley, Cortez Kennedy, Brian Bosworth, Richard Sherman. Easley, Kennedy, Bosworth, Sherman. Oh, yeah, YouTube, you guys are all over it. Double answer here. Easley and Kennedy. Let's go to the panel. Calvin.
I just said one of those guys. I said Cortez Kennedy.
Okay, so I will give you 1 point for the answer. This is worth 2 if you guys can get both of them. So 1 point for Calvin, which makes his number go up to 2. Noah, did you get the 2 points possible on this one?
I didn't know there were 2 answers. I said
there were 2. I said there was a multi-choice 2-answer question to this.
My bad. I misunderstood. It's because you said multiple choice. I thought that meant we're back to 4 instead of true or false.
Oh, I apologize. I tried to make that clear. I guess I didn't make it clear enough.
I said Kennedy.
Okay, well, you were right then there. So let's see. Well, if you guys both heard all the same things, let's see if Brian understood the question. Did you know that there were 2 answers correct in this one, Brian?
No, but that's on me because I wasn't paying full attention. I was trying to find a picture of me and Cortez on my phone because that's the first name that came to mind. So then I got distracted after that. So I only got Cortez as well.
Well, that's okay then. You guys all kind of did the same thing then. So you each got 1 right. So that puts Brian and Noah at 4, Calvin with 2. Yes, Kenny Easley and Cortez Kennedy both were defensive players of the year. Let's see if how the YouTube scoreboard shakes out. A couple of really good, solid answers by the YouTube crowd. Here we go. Chrysostomo, still in first place. Cameron Hughes shoots all the way up to second. Nick LaBow holds at third. Beano's moves up to fourth, and OTC Seattle into the 5th spot. Here's the next question. What was the inspiration for the Seahawks green and blue colors? The player's choice, ocean life, Washington landscapes, or community poll? What was the inspiration for the Seahawks green and blue colors? Player's choice, ocean life, Washington landscapes, or a community poll? Time is up. Oh, okay. Well, good chunk of you guys got this. This is another question from our buddy Golden Seahawk 30, Colin. His question that it was sent over to me. Yes, the correct answer, according to him, I didn't actually research this, so I assume he got this right, was that Washington landscapes was the inspiration for the colors of the team. I did not really know this one. I had to learn it from this. So, Calvin, what was your answer?
So that was my initial answer, but then I changed it up. I was like, we have such a huge fan base, such a huge following. Maybe it was the fans who inspired our colors. So as Noah usually knows, I stand by my gut, but today I've just been going away from my gut. I said the Washington Pole.
I do
But
believe
I set the landscape.
Okay, well your gut feel was right, but I do believe the name of the team was actually selected, I think, by the community. Isn't that right, Brian? Wasn't the team selected by the like a vote of the crowd?
Yeah, they had a vote. Now, whether, I mean, obviously it turned out that way, but who knows behind the scenes what they were going to really do if the vote didn't swing the way they thought it should have. But yeah, they at least made us feel like we had a vote.
It could have been the Seattle Kraken. It could have been the Seattle Kraken football team.
Cortez.
Oh, there you go. Wait, let me go full screen on that, and then we'll take another look. All right, bring it up one more time. Hold it up there. There you go. Cortez beautiful. Kennedy and Brian Abker. Where was this at, man?
This was at, I believe, Newcastle Golf Course, one of the golf courses, and Cortez came through, Lynn Swan came through, and we had a great old time and chatted it up. So rest in peace, my man. He was one of the nicest people you will ever meet on this planet for such a big, rough and tumble dude, as friendly as they come.
A gentle giant and one of the most amazing defensive players on one of the worst offensive teams the Seahawks have ever had. Sadly. Okay, so let's go to this. Let's go to the panel here. We were at Noah. Calvin missed this question. Noah, did you know this about the inspiration for the blue and green?
Oh, I thought Seahawks, so I just said the ocean. I thought it made sense, but I was wrong.
All right, so Brian, I think the answer puts you in the lead here. You said you knew this one, or did you? Actually,
This one I did know.
All right, so Brian takes the lead with 5 points. Noah in fourth. Calvin in behind at 2, but he can still have plenty of time to catch up here. It's kind of like that Washington landscapes. Kind of goes with that song, that bluest skies you ever seen are in Seattle.
Perry Como,
man. You guys know that song? Should be on your playlist on your phones, no? Okay, no, just kidding.
I know the remix blue and green for the Seahawks. That's about
it. All right, let's go to the YouTube scoreboard. Check it out. Let's see what happens. Crisostomo still in first place. Cameron Hughes still in second. Beano's moves up to third now. Nick LaBow in fourth, and OTC Seattle drops to stays over at fifth. Up 14 places is RNS 21, the highest climber. All right, so let's bring this up. Next question. Which of the following songs will be included in my Seahawks prediction music video of this year? Every Little Step, Old Town Road, Savage Love, or DJ Got Us Falling in Love? Which song will be included in my Seahawks prediction music video? Every Little Step by Bobby Brown, Old Town Road by, I forgot his name, Savage Love by Jason Derulo, or DJ Got Us Falling in Love by Usher? Oh, look at that. YouTube. You guys never fail me. Paid attention to my video I released earlier talking about the debut, and that's why they know. But I don't know if the panel was staying current on NorbCam current events. A little bit of a trick question. You had been watching my posts earlier today because I have not released which songs are going to be in there until today. Maybe you guys got lucky. 25% chance. Calvin.
I said that first guy that you mentioned.
Every Little Step by Bobby Brown?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be that one because I used that one in last year's video, so that was not the correct answer. Let's go to Noah.
I was thinking about sending in a dance video, man. I was watching this morning, so I got this one. Savage Love.
Okay, all right. So Noah did see the alerts come out. Brian, I don't know if you've been paying attention, nor would you even know half of these artists, but maybe you do. Brian, any lucky guess here?
I was going to guess WAP, but I guess that wasn't one of the possibilities, so no, I didn't get this one.
All right, so that puts a tie, 5 points apiece for Noah and Brian and Calvin with 2 points. Still can come back, though. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard. No change. Crisostomo still at first, Cameron Hughes in second, Beano's in third, Nick LaBow in fourth, OTC Seattle all at fifth. Obviously, they all knew the answers to this one. Up 13 places, T-Man is the highest climber, but still a ways to go. Here we go. Next question. Question number 9. What college team also calls their fans the 12th man? Is it Colorado, Texas Tech, UCLA, or Texas A&M? Which college team also calls their fans the 12th man? Colorado, Texas Tech, UCLA, or Texas A&M? You've got 3 seconds. Time is up. Oh, yes. Pretty easy for those of you who know a little bit of the history of it. Texas A&M is the correct answer. In fact, Seattle was paying trademark costs in the thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to use the 12th man, which is why they changed it and made it the 12s. Let's go to Calvin.
So I didn't actually know it, but I got it right. I said Texas A&M. I kind of just looked at some of the other fan bases. I was like, UCLA, they don't call their fans the 12th man. Colorado, I don't think they do. And the other school,
Texas
Tech. I don't think they call their fans the 12th man. And Texas A&M, I'm not really sure if they do, but I just chose them just because I kind of eliminated all the other
process of elimination got you right. So a point for you, Calvin. You got 3 now. Quick shout out to Ron Everest. Thank you again for the support in the super chat. Thank you so much. Noah.
I remember the lawsuit, and my cousin goes there, so I did know this. Texas A&M.
Okay. All right. Noah gets 6 points. Brian could stay on track here, but does he know the answer to this one?
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. I had many conversations with Mark Collins about this very same thing. So, yeah, absolutely.
They paid a lot of money for that trademark usage, man. I want to say it was definitely in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah, more than that. And they went through a real legitimately long process to transition so fans could get used to saying 12s instead of 12th man, so they can gear everybody up and change all the the marketing and everything. So
it's a big part of why we had to change our charity name from 12s Helping 12s to Fans for Good, because even we got slapped with the you cannot do that anymore. We own the 12s. So not a painful point for Mark Collins, but that's a different story. All right, so let's go to it's a tie game between Noah and Brian. It's 6 points each. Calvin at 3, and Ron Everest in the super chat. Did I give him your email? I'll have to look it up in a second here, but let's go. Let's stick with the trivia. Let's go to the scoreboard. I expect not a lot of changes on this one. Here we go. Oh, a couple of changes. Mostly a shift from 3rd to 5th. Crisostomo in 1st. Cameron Hughes in 2nd. Nick LaBow moves to 3rd. OTC Seattle moves to 4th. That's got to be Rohan, our 49er fan. And Beano's drops to 5th. Up 8 places is Go Hawks, the highest climber behind the scenes, trying to get into the top 5. All right, here we go. Next question. I think we're getting into the double points questions, if I'm not mistaken. Here we go. Question number 10. Worth double. What team did we make fun of in the Rivals video featuring Brian Abker? Was it the Chicago Bears, the Carolina Panthers, the San Francisco 49ers, or the Arizona Cardinals? Which team did we make fun of in the Rivals video you see right here with Brian Abker? The Bears, the Panthers, the 49ers, or the Cardinals? This is an easy one for YouTube. Oh, yeah, look at that. Overwhelming. 24 of you guys got this one correct. Yes, it was, in fact, the Chicago Bears. Brian, you remember that shoot?
Yeah. How embarrassing would it be if I got this wrong?
That would be very embarrassing. I would be very disappointed.
It was so much fun, man. So much fun.
It was so much fun. And every time I watch that show, I mean, the show is funny, but the bloopers never cease to put a smile on my face, man. One of the best bloopers in the history of history. So good. So good. All right, let's go to the panel, starting with Calvin. Did you know the answer to this famous Rivals video starring Brian Abker?
I should have, but it's just been a rough day at the office.
You need to go and watch
I said the Niners.
Tough one. That's Crisostomo's world right there. But yeah. Sorry you missed that one. You got to go watch it, man. If you haven't seen it, that's hilarious, man.
Is that the video that you sent in the group chat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it? Yeah. Oh.
I even gave it to you. I even gave you the hint in advance. But that's all right, man. We all got busy lives here. All right, Noah. If you didn't get this one, I would be extremely disappointed.
Really? Okay. Well, I actually didn't see it the first time.
What?
But I did my homework when you sent the video and said he was going to be on the show, so I watched it and knew that it was the Bears. But
oh, so you did. Okay, so you did take the hint and walked out. Right, so you get double points. Noah gets 8, and Brian, of course, is the star of this show. Obviously knows the answer since he was in this Rivals video.
Let's get something straight. Mark Collins is the star of that show. I think that's hands down. But in general, it was so cool to do and had a lot of fun. So if you ever want to invite me to do another one of those again, and I'll just be a background character just so I can laugh during the shoots, I'm in.
Oh man, you did a great job being you're like a forest park ranger. I still have that hat, man. We could bring it back for a sequel.
I love it. People call me Jumanji with that hat on.
Oh, that was so much fun. Sports Live in the ATL in the super chat. Stopping in, Norb and Noah. Go Falcons week 1. Yeah, Sports Live in the ATL, David. He's got a couple of bets going on with me and Noah for this game, week 1 game. So extra pressure for our Seahawks to do well out of the gates, because if our Seahawks lose, Noah and myself are going to have to give a little something to pay a bet to Sports Live in the ATL. But of course, if the Seahawks win, we both get a little something back from him. So, well, we'll see how it goes. But we have a collab video. I have a collab video with him Sunday evening, 4 o'clock Pacific. And Noah, you have a collab video planned on which day again? Next week sometime, right?
I'm actually going to do 2 collabs with him on Wednesday. And
2 collabs.
I'm just excited, Norm, because, you know, if I'm in pain and have to pay up, we're in pain and we have to pay up together.
Yeah, misery loves company, or we cherish and celebrate in unison in victory. Yes. Okay. Well, I haven't revealed what ours is going to be yet, so I haven't told people yet what our bet's going to be. It's going to be revealed in our show. So, in the super chat, we've got Antone Z, living in San Francisco, rocking my Hawks cap on the regular. On the reg? On the reg. Go Hawks. All right. Love it. It's always cool to hear about fans in other cities, especially rival cities like San Francisco. All right, let's go to, we got that. So Noah and Brian with 8 points apiece. Calvin at 3. The gap is getting harder to close here at this point, but technically you still could. No, you couldn't. I think it's too late for you, man. So it's a 2-horse race between Noah and Brian. Just not your day, Cal, but that's all right. We love you anyway. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard and see how things shake up as we close down the stretch. No change. Crisostomo in first place, shortly followed by Cameron Hughes, Nick LaBow in third, OTC Seattle, a.k.a. Rohan in fourth, and Beano's in fifth place. Let's go to the question number 11. Double points here. Oops, got to go to the screen. What kind of cancer does Mama Blue have? Pancreatic, liver, colon, or lung? This has been a big story. I've been talking about it a lot this week. What type of cancer is Mama Blue fighting right now? Pancreatic, liver, colon, or lung cancer? Time is up. Yep, YouTube. I know you've been watching. 26 of you guys got that correct. Yes, she is fighting for her life here, a battle against pancreatic cancer. We're doing everything in our part to try to raise some money for her as she starts this battle. But it's a rough one. 2020 has been rough. Let's go to the YouTube, or to the panel. Calvin.
See, I've been seeing this all week, but I guess I must have gotten my cancers mixed up because I said colon.
Okay. But, well, it began. Well, no, I was going to say it had the same letter. No, it doesn't. It has 2 of the same letters. It has 1. Okay, never mind. That's all right. We'll go to Noah.
No, I'm so glad you based so many of these questions on your own videos. Like, you be saving my life, man. Because, like, I remember hearing about this before you even posted a video about it, but I would not have gotten this off of that. It was only because, and I didn't even, I'm gonna full honesty here, I didn't even watch that entire video, but I watched just enough. And when, like, if we didn't have any options, I'm not getting this right. But I remember the pancreatic, and so I did get it right.
Okay, so that's a double point score for you, Noah. That puts you at 10. Brian needs this one to stay tied with it. Brian, have you been following the news on Mama Blue? Did you know the answer to this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I shared Mark Collins' post on my Facebook, had some people donate from there, certainly watched the video, and have known Mama Blue for a long, long time. Not as close with her as certainly maybe you or Mark or a lot of other people are, but she's been a staple in my Seahawks life since I was going to the Kingdom as a second grader to watch the Seahawks in their inception year, and she's been with the Seahawks the entire time. So yes, I absolutely did know about the sad news, the type of cancer. I'm glad there's awareness. I'm glad that there's some funding to help her out with medical bills. So it's good that we're getting the word out.
Yeah, I feel like we're just getting started. Mark's been on the phone a lot with different people. I think he actually spoke with Dave Craig earlier today. There's talk of trying to get some big kind of fundraising push event type of thing. So I'll keep everybody up to date as things move along. But I was on earlier today did a phone interview with Spirit 105.3, the Christian music channel. They were kind enough, they saw the post and they contacted me to do an interview to talk about that. So we're trying to get the word out there and trying to raise money to help her for the soon to be a lot of medical bills going her way. So again, there's a link in the description if you guys want to donate, but it's fansforgood.com, our charity, FANZ, the number 4, good.com. So let's go to the YouTube scoreboard here. I know most of you guys got this one correct. Let's see how the numbers change. Oh, Cameron Hughes shoots up to the top spot with a narrow lead over Crisostomo. Nick LaBow in third, OTC Seattle Albinos in fifth. Now this becomes very interesting because Cameron Hughes is a regular viewer of the show and a regular player in the trivia, and he has been second so many times after being number one. And for the first time, he's been like, it's down at the bottom and finally reaches the top spot. Can he stay in there and actually earn the win in this round? We'll find out in just a second. While up 8 places, Sonia 444 is the highest climber, but it is right now down to Cameron and Crisostomo for this final answer, just like it's down to Noah and Brian. Let's see what happens in this final question. Here we go. How much money has Fans for Good raised so far for Mama Blue? Over 2,000, over 14,000, over 5,000, or over 10,000. How much money has Fans for Good raised for Mama Blue so far? Over 2,000, over 14,000, over 5,000, or over 10,000? Time is up. This is correct. It might be higher now. I have not checked it in the last hour since we started the show, but yes, as before our taping, we were over $14,000 in funds raised since we started the fundraiser back on Friday. Our $25,000 is the goal we're trying to reach. I'm confident we'll get there with the support of the 12s, but yes, the correct answer is over $14,000. Majority of you guys, 13 of you on YouTube, got that one correct. All right, let's go to the panel for a double point question. Calvin.
So last time I saw it on Facebook, I think it was over 1,500, and that went by pretty fast. So I said 5,000, but I'm sorry.
It popped quite a bit. So all right, sorry, Calvin. Sorry, you did get that one. Noah, you and Brian are in a tight two-way tie right here. What you got?
I actually do not know the answer until you showed us the answer, but based on deduction and based on, because I really I've been kind of keeping up with the Mama Blue cancer situation. I am a very bad person for not being more invested and more in the know, but you guys made it seem like everybody knows about it, and that actually kind of made me feel bad. But that's my own fault, and I need to learn more about it. So that's, my own lapse of judgment. But based on what you guys said, and based on the numbers, 10,000 and 5,000 are two rounded. 14,000, that's pretty unique. And I have a lot of faith in Seattle's fan base, so I said 14.
All right, so that puts Noah at 12 points. So Brian, got to get this one to keep a tie in the game. Brian, did you know the answer to this?
I would love to say that I did, but I didn't. I said over 10,000, and I, like Noah, need to keep up on the totals because I saw that it shot up real quick, and the last I saw, it was over 10,000 or it was over 9,500, I think. So, yeah, over 14,000. That's pretty good, and still rising.
And still rising. Technically on Facebook, it's at 13.8, but we've raised over, I think, close to 500 on our website. So between the two, we're over $14,000 now. So thank you so much for everybody who donated. It's been a huge thing, and I know Mama Blue truly appreciates it. So based on that, Noah wins today's trivia with 12 points. 12 points in the scoreboard. Brian in a close second at 10, and Calvin with a little off day, but I know he'll bounce back. Had 3 points today, but that's all right. You've had some good days. We have all had some bad days. I know I sucked the first time I played trivia, so it goes around. But good job, you guys. Brian, I almost thought you'd have it there, but you did pretty good considering that you went into this not very confident.
Yeah, but there's still a few questions that I'm thoroughly embarrassed that I didn't know the answer to that were in my wheelhouse of like 80s Seahawks. So I'm kind of ashamed of my showing, but Noah won fair and square, and smart kid over there.
Yeah, all you guys are smart. You guys are definitely. Yeah, I think you guys all beat me if I were playing this trivia contest. So, all right, let's go to the scoreboard. Let's find out who the winner is. Could it be Chrysostimo, or does it be Cameron Hughes, or will it be someone to shock us all? Let's find out right here. In third place, with 11 out of 12 questions, is OTC Seattle. With 10 out of 12, Nick LaBow in second, and in first place, Hughes finally gets the top spot. Chrysostimo and Dangerous are the runners-up. Cameron Hughes with 11 out of 12 questions correct. 11,833 points. Just ahead of second place Nick LaBow, who had 11,087. And OTC Seattle, it's got to have been Rohan. It had to have been Rohan. 11 out of 12 answers, but he must have just been slower on the draw because he only had 10,259 points. That is very impressive. Am I right? Am I right, Rohan? Did you play OTC Seattle? It's got to have been.
That's hilarious. Every time it's a bad name, like you say, it's Rohan.
Yeah, I know. All right, so that was fun. So, congratulations, Cameron. You were already in line to be in the show, but you've earned it. You don't even need a handout to get it this time. You got it, man. Congratulations, Cameron. So we'll arrange to have you be on a future show. So, good job, you guys. Well, at this point, man, this was a long show. I thought, let's get this thing under 2 hours, and it's like 2 hours and 28 minutes now. So I'm doing right on time. Well, I appreciate everybody for coming on today. First, I got to thank all my guests here. Seahawks Martin had to go do piano lessons. We're going to wait for his recital performance on YouTube pretty soon here. But first, I got to say thanks to my guests and give them a chance to promote their channels and their media. So let's start with Calvin.
Yes, sir. As usual, before you show me any love, show everybody else on this panel all the love in the world that you guys could possibly show. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to Norb's channel. Hit the like button, drop a comment, subscribe to my brother right here at DJ Squabo, DJ Squabo. And Brian, you don't have a YouTube channel, do you?
No fancy YouTube channel, but I'll watch all your guys's.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And last but not least, don't forget to subscribe to me at Steezy A Smith, SteezyASmith. Just dropped a video earlier today, surprise drop. I didn't expect to drop it today, but I did anyway. It's about basketball, NBA. So for any of you guys that are NBA fans, basketball fans, are the Toronto Raptors in trouble? Be sure to check that out. Leave a like, drop a comment. Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys haven't already, please, support my new Instagram page at Steezy A Smith. If you guys want to find a link to my merch as well, I'm rocking a new tee that just came in a few days ago. It's one of the basic designs, but have to get a black and white. If you guys want some merch, definitely send a DM on Instagram or Facebook, or the link's just in my Instagram bio. So please show us some love and yeah.
That's a slick design. Who does your artwork design, man?
My manager.
Oh, the manager's got a manager. Big time. All right, let's go to Noah. Noah, go ahead and tell everybody about your channel and where they can find you.
But thank you, Norb.
Hey, man, I honestly, man, I gotta prioritize, man. The video, I haven't even seen Calvin's video about Toronto, but I think the thumbnail is phenomenal, and I think it's a very hot topic, and I can't wait to watch it. But his video he dropped the other day, just tremendous. It's his best video to date, in my opinion. I think his quality is getting so much better. So if you haven't shown him love until this point, now's a great chance. But I post videos as well. I do a show every Saturday. Norb's going to be on it again this week. We're doing a live fantasy draft again. And then this weekend, I'm posting a video announcing my collaborations with Sleeta, Sports Live in the ATL. Sam Dog's also going to be there, and Jazzy Jeff. So it's going to be two Falcons fans, two Seahawks fans. We're collabing. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have 3 collabs next Wednesday. It's going to be crazy. And then also, I got a show coming up on KUGR, which is Wazoo's radio station. We're going to be streaming that on Wazoo's Facebook for a while. So I'll leave all that information to you this weekend. Be sure to subscribe. Show me some love after you show everyone else some love on the panel.
And Norb, sorry, real quick, just because I forgot. Tyler Parcher, I didn't forget your shout out. Shout out to you, my guy. Thanks for always showing love. Thanks for always tuning in. That means a lot to each and every single one of us. So shout out to you, my guy.
That's right, Tyler Parcher. He was the one who was asking me if I picked up this yet, so I do have it. So I can't wait to crack this open and start playing. It's been so busy, man. I'm up to my eyeballs trying to get this music prediction video done. It's going to be off the hook, though. So I did launch a video earlier today saying that I'm going to premiere it officially a week from Friday. So September 11th is when it's going to drop. So hopefully get it done by then. Got to, because that's the last Friday before the first game of the season. So that is the plan. 9 days from now. So hope you guys will check that out. So last but not least, I got to thank my special guest who came in today, and I'm sure he'll be part of this moving forward. So Brian Abker, our a special guest today. So such a pleasure having you on here today, man. You want to tell anybody? I know you got your. You said you don't have a YouTube channel, but anything you want to promote on your end of things?
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, I want to say that I think Calvin and Noah are exceptionally good at what they're doing here. These guys have a really bright future in broadcasting, and they promote themselves well. They've got well thought out thoughts and ideas, and know how to have some discourse and some back and forth. And it was really cool to watch these guys in action and to be a part of it. I don't have anything to promote. You can follow me on Twitter, but I promise you, if I've got something worthwhile saying, everybody's going to know about it. So you'll see it.
All right. Well, hopefully you will be back to join this panel. Can I count on you as being a regular guest on this panel, Brian? Because it was a great time having you here.
Hey, man, if all you guys agree and everyone's cool with it, I'd love to be, but you're going to have to ask that kid that you brought in from the playground to be part of the show after kickball. Martin, you got to ask him because he's an integral piece. I love that little dude. He's going to be a superstar as well.
He is. He's one of the smartest kids I know. Yeah. No, it's going to be great. This was a lot of fun, and yes, for sure we'll definitely do this again. So I want to thank all my guests for being here. Definitely sub up their channels and look up their social medias. Again, all the links are in the description as well as what you can see right here. And for all of you guys who contributed to the super chats, I appreciate the support. Those who are just busy chatting it up, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in there. We didn't see all the comments, nearly enough of them, but I appreciate all the stuff you guys had going on behind the scenes with the chat. And for everyone who participated in the Kahoot trivia game, thanks for playing. And again, congratulations to Cameron Hughes for winning it this time. And for everybody else who just wanted to watch and see what this was all about, if you guys were here from the start to the finish, that's incredible, because that means you devoted 2.5 hours of your life to listen to us to talk about this crazy stuff. Well, we do appreciate it, and it's for you guys. This is a lot of fun, and we all just love sharing our passion of sports, and particularly me sharing the love of the Seahawks. And man, in this bizarre world that we have right now, it's fun to be able to just have a little fun, just talk sports, and look forward to some game action in about a week and a half. So I can't wait to see our boys in the blue, white, and green hit that field against Atlanta. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys, and again, please hit that like button, comment, hit the sub button, and the notification bell. That way you won't miss a single video in the future. That's all I got. Thanks, guys. Thanks, panel. And you guys all have a great rest of your week. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Go Hawks, baby.